Hello and welcome to week 5 of the bracket show. Oh man, we're into bracket 5. God, we're past the halfway point of round 1, and I'm still alive somehow. So that's always fun. It is always fun.
You're breathing, but how are your rations? What are you eating, Jacob?
How are you, Taylor?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm here. You know,
It's been a week.
It's been a week. It's just another week has gone by where I've said I was gonna catch up watching movies that I haven't seen on this bracket, and have done zero because Challengers is the only thing that can take up space in my brain after seeing Challengers. Well, that and the idea of you, but
yeah, that and a certain trip to LA.
Well, but Challengers though, I need to see it again immediately because it's penetrated into my soul.
We're actually very lucky that she's here because she may have gone and seen Challengers.
I was like, guys, sorry, I have to go do a very important thing instead, which is seeing Challengers again. But anyway, that's how I am. Cinema is back, basically, is what I have to say after the week that I've had.
Hey guys, Adam, Marisol, how are we?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Another Sunday fun day, and here we are. Yeah, I actually did keep up with all my homework this week. I really kind of enjoyed. I did not see Challengers yet though, so I don't know if who knows where I would have been if I had seen Challengers. I have not seen it yet, but I will this week.
There was a thrilling development because we have access to the streaming cable service of Fubo.
Oh,
and there was some definite talk of, can we watch Fubo this week?
We did try.
Yes, and
that failed. But
and you
tried.
know what? The power of the $3.99 rental came through.
Yes,
but
it did.
We'll get to that later.
We will.
I'm the one person in the world who is more mixed on Challengers than I'm not obsessed with it the way everyone else is. So
I'm gonna challenge you on that, Jacob. I haven't seen it yet, but we'll talk.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, you just don't understand the vibes.
No, I don't.
You don't get it. You're too straight. I think. A little bit.
Mara will be joining us at some point. She's having some troubleshooting issues with her computer, but she will be joining us very soon.
Otherwise, she's just gonna text in all her picks, and we're just gonna have to
we'll see her in the chat. Yeah.
But let's kick it off. Let's kick it off
with. I'm excited.
I think. Look. I swear to God.
If we spend more than 2 minutes on this conversation,
Hustlers versus Get Out. Marisol, I'll let you start with this one. And I'll let you have the floor.
Get out of here, Jacob, with this one. Get out. Oh no, this is a no-brainer. We know the impact that Get Out has had. It is one of the most impressive horror debuts of a director in the 2010s, which is saying something because it was the 2010s, and it does not disappoint. It is Jordan Peele's still strongest film in a career of already strong films, and Hustlers by comparison is pretty dramatically flat. Hustlers, I think, got a little overrated when it came out. It got a big push when it came out, and I think got a little bit oversold. It's a compelling story, just not really compellingly made into a film. But we love J-Lo, A+ for J-Lo. I don't know if it was an Oscar-worthy performance, but J-Lo made a splash in that movie. Constance Wu has an absolutely terrible haircut.
Uh-oh.
And I came for the haircut. But Hustlers is a colorful story with a talented cast of ladies that I don't think the movie fully utilizes. And it don't matter because it's Get Out all the way. We'll talk about Get Out some more.
I definitely think we will. But I love this. I love that.
Absolutely. That tracks.
And everyone's thoughts on the randomizer.
Yes, that tracks. Uncle Rando. That is forever now.
Taylor.
Yeah, this one's pretty easy. I had a lot of fun with Hustlers. Like, I think it was a solid movie. Really enjoyed it when it came out. Thought it was just, it was a fun time. It was like kind of met expectations of like being solid. Not anything too crazy or like, you know, as fun as it was to have people do the Oscars talk, like it just wasn't ever that thing for it. Get Out, I think, is hugely responsible for me being more willing to like delve into horror like subgenres and just like horror in general, because that's not really my lane most of the time, or wasn't at least. And I think it's such a smart horror film. It's so thought-provoking, and so it really put a stamp on who Jordan Peele is as a filmmaker just immediately. Like, he came out of the gate, first film, and you just immediately were like, he has a specific style. He knows exactly what he wants to say. Like, he's just came out and was like, oh, yeah, totally, just keep directing things forever. I love your comedy, but we're good. If this is the product you're gonna give us, please keep like writing and directing this kind of stuff. And he hasn't had a miss for me like since. I don't like Nope as much as most people, and I don't think it's his like least for me, but it's still so like his point of view is so interesting and so compelling. And Get Out was just the best possible introduction to that. But I don't want to get on too much of a tangent because we're definitely talking about this again later.
Adam?
Look, I'm definitely voting for Get Out, but I watch Hustlers for this. I didn't pick today, you son of a bitch.
The stupid thing I gave you that this was a matchup last week.
I don't care. All right. Look, it takes time to catch up with this shit. And I just got into Shogun and Fallout, which is my own. Because that's a lot to like. It's really hard to get back into like movies when you're like into those shows. But I did. I took a break. Hustlers was. I'm not mad at Hustlers. It did its job. Showed an interesting point of view from 2008, an era that we're all familiar with, right? It sucked. I graduated from college in 2009, and I went full-time at Hollywood Video at the time. It sucked. So I understand the struggle specifically of that era, and I related to it on a certain level. But a lot of the movie, it felt performative to an extent that I felt like it got away from the source material a little bit. I felt it felt a little too chummy for how real the story was. And that's fine. They need to make it marketable. It's a very pleasant movie. I get it. And it's a fun ensemble cast. But Get Out is seminal. It's Oscar winning. I can't wait to talk about it more. So I vote for Get Out. But I watched Hustlers. I want everyone to know I watched it. It took me a long time, but I watched it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going Get Out. I think Get Out is just absolutely his. I personally also think it is Jordan Peele's masterpiece. I think it's such a great movie. And this, like, where the hell did this come from? I think that's the biggest thing about it. It's, you know, it's the dude from Key and Peele. Like he did this. Like it doesn't feel like anything else he had ever worked on up until that point. Obviously now you look at his filmography like, oh yeah, I can see it. But at that point, it was just such a breath of fresh air of like, where the hell does this come from? So I think Get Out is just one of those like absolutely phenomenal movies. Hustlers, I think, I agree with you with the 2008 part about all of it. I think is the most interesting aspect because maybe I'm forgetting, but isn't it like a shock that it's 08? Like the beginning doesn't tell you that it's 08, and then suddenly like it goes. It
starts off in 07, I think. Pretty much.
Yeah, it starts at 07, but then Usher turns up, and then it's like, and then it like tells you the date, and you're like, oh, everything's about to. Oh, okay, I know what's coming. And it's like one of those like, oh, moments of just all you have to say is 2008 and money, and everyone knows instantly what you're talking about.
And
yeah. I think
in New York in 2008 sounds great.
Yeah. I think J-Lo in it is phenomenal. Like I actually do think her in Hustlers is incredible, and I would have been fine if she got an Oscar nomination for that role because I do think she is really good. But other than that, yeah, Hustlers I don't think's quite that movie. It's a good movie. It's not Get Out, and Get Out's moving on. Mara is joining us in a minute. The computer has apparently restarted, but she would have voted Get Out.
I was gonna say, Mara's not a Cardi B fan. She wasn't gonna vote for Hustlers.
She also watched Hustlers. We all love Hustlers.
So the next one I'm going to skip because I do want to have the conversation with Mara about that one. So we will come back to it. But let's go to our third one: The Lobster versus Train to Busan. Taylor, I will start with you so you can give out your love of this movie.
Great. So I finally, after 5 years, got Jacob to watch The Lobster with me because A24 did their theater re-release, and I actually got to take you to a theater to watch it with me. So I've been trying to convince you to do it basically since we started talking to each other.
We've owned it for 5 years.
Yeah, I know we have. Yes, I'm very aware of that fact. So The Lobster was my first introduction to Yorgos as a filmmaker, and I just immediately fell in love with the film. I thought it was so different than anything that I had really ever seen. And the cast, like, you forget about it until you're sitting there watching it, but the cast of The Lobster is actually nuts. Like, people keep showing up, and you're just like, oh, there's no, okay. I guess that Yorgos just somehow was like, knows everyone and has everyone in his, like, you get obviously Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz, but who doesn't actually show up until about halfway through the movie, which I love. But then Olivia Colman, Lea Seydoux, like John C. Reilly, Ben Whishaw, like it just keeps going, and you're like, wow, this cast is awesome, which I love. I think it's such a cool, like, little, it's a cool moment when you have that with a movie where you just kind of go, oh, that's really cool. But I love the story. I think it's so weird and such an interesting take on, like, a love story, but also a story that's, talking about, like, identity and self-image and, like, your belief systems and your morality. It's really a cool kind of exploration of all of those really human things that we can all really relate to, but in this, almost kind of apocalyptic setting that's not in a way you would usually think of, of like a postmodern society, which is really cool. I love the world building a lot. I think just the way that it talks about and shines a light on the human condition and, like, the kind of people we become when we're put into certain circumstances. I just love it. I think it's such a quirky, like, cool little film. And I'm really sad it's about to get murdered by Train to Busan.
Adam.
So yeah, with The Lobster, I'm happy to say I saw it long before this episode, but I did see it last year for the first time, and it was a big, like, blind spot for me, and I was so delighted to catch up with it because I found it so interesting. I found it, as far as all the human elements, I found it relatable. I'm a fan of Kafka's The Metamorphosis, and I really like that this, like, movie, like, took that idea and applied it to a romantic comedy, which is really, really interesting, because the whole idea of, the metamorphosis is waking up with this existential crisis that you're not who you thought you were. And with The Lobster, you have that writ large with all these characters who have all these different angles, and they are all, like, wrestling with this idea of turning into something new, which for a lot of them is a good thing, but for many of them it's very, very scary. And I applaud Yorgos for like leading the charge with a movie like this with confidence, because we've seen what he's done since. And I think The Lobster, for a lot of people who their entry point may be Poor Things or The Favorite, they can go back to The Lobster and really appreciate it. And for some people who might stumble across it, they're like, wow, this is just a great ensemble cast. So I love all of that about The Lobster. And with Train to Busan, it's a very straightforward premise in a lot of ways. on a superficial level, Snowpiercer gets compared to this movie because of the train thing.
Mhm.
But what I think the movies have in common more than the train element is the way they're structured, and the way you move from car to car, and what that means, and that goes all the way back to Murder on the Orient Express and Great Train Robbery and all the great train movies. They're framed around the physicality of the train. And Train to Busan is so successful, in my opinion, because I'm a full-throated Walking Dead apologist. I know that's really controversial. Everyone nowadays is like, fuck that show. And I get it.
I did not say fuck that show. I did not say
Look, I'm sitting there with my foam finger like, Rick and Michonne, let's go. Like, it's like 10 years after the fact, but let's go. But no, the thing about Walking Dead that makes it appealing is dealing with the realism and the emotion of what that would feel like. And Train to Busan deals with it at the outset of a pandemic, with the zombie apocalypse, so to speak. But beyond that, you can ignore the zombie apocalypse and you can just focus on the father-daughter element. And you all know me. You know that makes me a sucker right out of the gate. But it also earns it. It's not cheap. The father is completely dialed out of his relationship with his daughter. And to see the way he cares about her manifested from scene to scene is so moving. And to see the way the characters bond in a short span of time under these circumstances is crazy. It's a really, really great movie that I wish I'd seen in theaters. And The Lobster is clever and thoughtful and really, really thought-provoking. But Train to Busan is purely emotional for me. And zombies are so worn out. They're so tired. And as a Walking Dead fan and as a George Romero fan, I can say that. But Train to Busan made it fresh. And that's saying a lot. I still need to see the spinoff. I haven't seen the spinoff. But I vote for Train to Busan.
All right. Marisol?
Interesting. Yeah, this is a tough matchup. These two are really close. These are two strong, unique genre movies. And Yorgos is his own genre. Lanthimos is his own genre, I feel like, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick to answer Jonathan Caro, I think if I had to transform into an animal, I would probably be a seal. That's what would happen if I were in The Lobster and I failed and didn't find a mate. I'll be like, huh? I'd be like, well, I guess I'm just gonna flap to the water and then take off and just take off into the Arctic. But yeah, so that's my answer. The coolest thing about Yorgos Lanthimos is that he is almost his own genre. He has this weird, really bizarre and I'm going to speak specifically about The Lobsters. He has this detached, his presentation in his world, this environment, this heightened reality that he creates feels detached and off kilter and offbeat and bizarre and oddball. And yet there's so much with all his characters, and it's consistent throughout all his movies. He has this emotional clarity with all his characters, and you really engage with their arc, and there's a really core, very human emotions at the core of it. And especially in The Lobster, which is about, in this almost sterile environment, this almost trying to find a way to really fall in love and engage with another human being in this emotionally sterile environment, which is such a cool, wacky premise that shouldn't work, but you find so many emotional truths by the end of it. Love the cast to bits. Cool thing about Yorgos too is that everybody gets a different mode. He brings out a certain style of angle of certain actors. With Emma Stone, his partnership with her. I love when he has Farrell in his movies because we always get sad, paunchy Colin Farrell. When he's in a Yorgos Lanthimos movie, and this is him in a way that you haven't seen him.
Shucks, Farrell.
Yeah. And he's such an emotive, really soulful eyes, and it works really well in The Lobster. Rachel Weisz is incredible in it as well. You really feel for them in this, And then Train to Busan on the other side would make a great double feature, I think, with like Godzilla -1, you know, weirdly enough. But this is really tough. And I just said all that stuff about The Lobster. Train to Busan is, I mean, it is a fantastic zombie movie. I do think it runs maybe a little bit out of gas towards the end. I think I hit like a stressful, like harrowing climax in Train to Busan, and the movie kept going for like another 20 minutes. And I was like, I'm done. Like I'm already done, and this thing is still going. But
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Definitely a highlight and another strong point for zombie movies in the 2010s. I talked about it both, and I didn't come closer to picking one.
The joys of this show, where you convince yourself which one you actually want to pick.
Right. I thought talking about them would help me pick one more. I'm gonna go. I'm sorry. I'm gonna not belabor this. We do have another Yorgos film in this bracket. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm gonna hold out for that one, and I'm gonna pick Train to Busan because of its uniqueness here, and it's a standout in its genre. Because I'm gonna put my eggs in another Yorgos movie later on in this bracket.
All right.
Slightly screw you, Jacob.
So I would vote for The Lobster. I really enjoy. I really love The Lobster. I think it's just such a unique and quirky movie. Mara has said, however, she is picking Train.
Nope, she's not allowed to be a tiebreaker. She's not here. Nope, she's not allowed to be a tiebreaker. She's not here for the conversation. Nope, that's not how it works.
Oh no!
I'm protesting. Not happening.
Okay,
nope, it's not happening.
All right, let's move on to our next one. Attack the Block versus Gravity. I'll start. I love Gravity, and I'm more mad at anything because he can't. Like, it's just one of those movies that
you
is just
love not floating away, buddy.
It's just impossible to not get to that. This hasn't been released on 4K, and I really wish. I want to see this movie in the best possible version of it. I wish you could see it in theaters again. Gravity is just this really intense and visceral filmmaking, and so I'm going to go with Gravity. Adam?
Look, as someone who does not have a 4K player yet and literally returned. Okay, look, I got to add some context. Don't get mad. I pre-ordered Andor and Kenobi, like the Steelbook sets, and they're only available at Walmart because that's cool. And I ordered the 4Ks like a complete like grandpa, and I don't have a 4K player yet. And so like I went back to the Walmart today, and I was like, hey, I need to return these. And they're like, we don't know if we can return these. I'm like, they're sealed. I have a receipt. They took them back. It's cool. I reordered the Blu-rays. It's fine. But my point is, I appreciate your clamor for 4K, even though I'm behind the curve. And I'm going to get there eventually. These are cool space movies. Gravity's very cool. It's a great exercise from Alfonso Cuarón. This young lady over here showed me Attack on the Block a couple years ago for the first time. And I was enlightened. I really, really liked it. I love the visualization of the aliens. It's so unlike anything I've ever seen in a movie. It felt Lovecraftian and weird and like Daft Punk-ish in a way. Just like the neon of it mixed with the depth of the blackness. I love the depth of the darkness in this movie. The way it deals with the saturation of darkness and how that creates doubt. Attack the Block never loses its sense of balancing the mortality with the comedy. And I think that's what it reminded me of Shaun of the Dead in a great way, but not in a derivative way. Mm-hmm. And I really, really like Attack of the Block. Attack of the Block. Attack the Block.
Yeah.
Is my vote. But Gravity, solid. Also should have seen that in theaters. Sandy crushed it. George was solid, but I vote for Attack the Block.
Marisol?
Yeah, these are another round of two goodies. Attack the Block was when I first joined the Schmodown, and before I joined the Schmodown, I dreamed about joining the Schmodown. And this is back when you could pick actually licensed music to be your entrance music.
Yeah.
And I told you about this. I dreamed when I would watch Schmodown matches, I dreamed about walking through those curtains onto the Schmodown and having the song specifically titled The Block from the soundtrack from About the Block was the music by Basement Jaxx. That's the music I dreamed about walking out to during the Schmodown. It was my only intention. And then when I got drafted, they were like, and here's some awesome music from David B. But you don't get to pick your own music. But that's neither here nor there. But it was going to be one of the most rockin' tracks from this score. And Attack the Block is one of my favorite movies of the 2010s. It absolutely is. And for good reason. Just the genre mashup here is just a game. Got a bunch of kids in the slums in London. The amount of slang that this movie introduces, like British slang that this movie introduces to American audiences is eye-opening. The design of the aliens is unlike any we've ever seen in a movie. These aliens are just pitch black gorillas with neon blue teeth. It's just unlike any design
they have the glow
we've
in the
ever
dark,
seen.
like plastic Dracula teeth.
Yeah, it's
that.
fantastic. I love the mixing of all these social themes, class issue themes. I think it's one of the deftest blends of genre and weightless blends of genre and actual issues in a long time. Sci-fi comedy is since Men in Black. It's one of the best mixes of sci-fi comedy and real stakes. And it gave us John Boyega, so amen, and has a fucking killer soundtrack. Gravity is a fantastic, breathtaking technical spectacle of a movie. Nothing like seeing this movie in IMAX, which is how I saw it initially when it came out. Fucking spectacular. And you really feel the weight of that last scene when she finally hits on her. I've never felt a movie. We've seen a lot of movies about isolation in space, and Gravity is very unique in that sense. Mm-hmm. It is pretty stellar in that regard. I think it's still impressive watching at home. Obviously not like the big screen, nothing is, but still a technical marvel watching this movie at home. And like I said, you feel the literal weight of her footsteps in that closing shot. And that's some damn good filmmaking. It's a strong movie, and I wouldn't have been mad if it went on against a lot of other things, but it's not winning against Attack the Block for me. No way, Jose.
But I gotta say, I appreciate the way she palate cleansed with this post. It is after Blindside, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Blindside, yeah.
That's a palate.
Yeah, this is her project choice after Blindside, after an Oscar win. This is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Mara.
Oh, we're joined by Mara. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
All right. So technical difficulties aside, you gave me your vote, but you just want to explain a little bit because I haven't actually.
I'll be brief. I'm a space slut. Like, I know that it seems like Attack the Block would be the natural choice, but despite the small grievances I have with oh my god, I'm dead, but I'm not dead, but I'm really obviously dead, Clooney. I do think I love any movie that can basically be carried by a single person the entire time, even with a really shit ass haircut that she has in that movie.
Still better than Constance Hustlers. Sorry, continue.
But I feel pretty confident Attack the Block will probably take this one, and I think it's a fantastic movie, but I just really love Gravity. I kind of want to revisit it. I might have had time for it. I had a really long weekend, but and there was only one movie I had to watch this week, which was shocking, I say. But in hindsight, there probably could have been a few movies I wanted to watch, and Gravity would have been one of them. But if I had to choose which one I would go back and watch just because I wanted to right now, it'd be Gravity also. So I'm going to toss it my vote.
All right. Taylor,
No.
you have the deciding vote.
You haven't voted.
I did. I voted Gravity. That was my opening vote.
You didn't even say anything.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did at the start.
No, you didn't.
You were still mourning
No,
Lobster.
No.
Well done,
I
Jacob.
said I
Jacob
voted for
Gravity,
Gravity because it's one of the most like anxiety-driven movies I have ever had in a theater.
Okay, I'm trying to get you to talk because you say one sentence and then you don't actually talk about like why you love movies, and it bothers me.
Okay, I really love Gravity because it is. You sit there the entire time, just absolutely anxiety driven the entire time. I think that Sandra Bullock's performance is phenomenal. I think she is captivating you the entire time. I think it's the best she's ever been. I agree with you on the dead fake out, but I think it's also obvious as all fuck that's what's happening. So I'm not that mad at it. And I think what Cuarón does with directing wise in the opening 15 minutes alone is absolutely phenomenal, and he deserved the Oscar for that alone, even in the year of 12 Years a Slave. So yeah, that's why I'm going with Gravity.
Was that so hard?
No.
Gosh. Okay, I haven't seen either of these movies, so
Oh no!
this is what everyone gets for kicking the lobster out. This is the kind of chaos you're about to deal with
What you
now.
get?
If it helps Taylor, it was a tough choice.
No, I'm not blaming you specifically. I'm blaming the show and fucking Jacob for doing this to me.
Oh wow, we
People
started
are-
with one. Wow.
Going full crustaceous on you.
Okay, so I literally have no frame of reference to make this choice. Other than I have seen the trailer for Gravity and it made me want to die. Because there's nothing that scares me more than being up in outer space or down below the ocean. I'm perfectly fine on this even keel ground that we're on here as humans. And the thought of going to space, the thought of watching people go to space in a movie makes me so claustrophobic for the most part. And watching the trailer for Gravity, I was like, wow, this is the kind of space movie that literally I would probably pass out if I tried to watch it. So we're not voting for Gravity. That's not happening. I'm not letting it move forward so that I have to watch it.
What if it was Gravity?
Whoa.
What if it was Gravity versus 47 meters down?
Or
Uh,
underwater.
Okay, here's the
No.
question. Does 47 meters down feel real? The way that it's filmed?
Yeah, kind of. Because I
Honestly,
mean,
it's-
like for
it's
example,
solid
I've been in
for
a
what it
shark
is.
cage
Yeah.
before
Like
under
is
the
it
water.
is it like
Underwater.
Is it like underwater?
I think
Yes.
no. I think underwater is the stronger, more.
You
extreme.
nearly threw up in Underwater.
I
You
literally
were-
almost
Underwater
had to leave because I was
unbearable.
having a panic attack. So
Yeah.
I'm not watching Gravity. Basically, that's my
Underwater
I
shows
didn't
what
get
it
you to
looks
watch
like
Gravity.
for someone to be depressurized and vaporized underwater for the first time, and that was like a lot to see.
Like I put myself through underwater and went. If anything is ever like this again, I will die. Anyway,
Right. But like having been shark diving, I will say like 47 meters down does feel like it feels like what it feels like to go shark diving and then have it go horribly, horribly wrong.
well, that's also going on my list of movies I'm never fucking watching.
It's a solid
Ever.
flick. It's a solid.
All right.
flick.
Now that Mara is here, we can actually have the conversation that because last week you were like, there's one that I want to have an actual conversation about, and that is A Star Is Born versus the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
Mara,
because I want to go last. No,
Oh,
I want to
okay.
go last. Because
All right.
I think I'm going to have the hot take opinion here.
oh, alrighty. Adam, I'll start with you then.
Yeah, I like both of these movies. I do. Just right out of the gate.
I don't.
A Star Is Born. What? Who? What? Who yelled at me?
No.
Nothing.
Who's on my lawn? So A Star Is Born has a rich tradition of being remade, obviously, and I think for this version of it, it's as solid as it can be in a lot of ways. Definitely, not the most optimistic take on mental and emotional health, but neither are its predecessors. But it's dramatically impactful. I really like Bradley and Lady Gaga in this movie. and I really like the way it's shot. It's filmed very, very interestingly. And it made me believe Bradley and Sam Elliott as brothers. So like, wow. Definitely pegged him as the dad in the trailer. And then like I saw the movie, I was like, okay, this is where we're going. And then Peanut Butter Falcon came out, and I was just like, okay, if we're going to take the best things about Mark Twain and modernize them, and like that's what I felt about Peanut Butter Falcon. It was so satisfying as it's a road movie, but truly it's a river movie. You know, I've read Huck Finn a few times, and it's not a perfect book to say the least, but it's got so much to talk about. And I feel like Peanut Butter Falcon ran with the themes of that story in a modern context in a way that was really meaningful. And it really explored the aspects of the characters. And there's a lot of affection from our generation for wrestling. And to see it transposed in this story was really, really effective, because like I bought into their fandom of wrestling. And I love that about it. I love the appearance of Jake the Snake. Really, really cool in the final stretch of the movie. Dakota Johnson gives a great performance, but doesn't upstage anybody. And yeah, it's tricky because I think these are both really strong movies, but I'm voting for Peanut Butter Falcon because it was underrepresented when it came out, even though it had a very strong contingent of folks who were supportive of it for sure, but it was completely ignored going into award season that year. And not that that's the be all end all, it isn't, but A Star Is Born was you know, the heir apparent that year in a lot of ways. There was a lot of presumption about you know, how good it would be, and it lived up to the expectations in a lot of ways as far as I'm concerned. It's not perfect though, and neither is Peanut Butter Falcon, but Peanut Butter Falcon is a movie I would definitely rewatch first because I just relate to the characters and I love its take on the Midwest, and I think it runs with the themes of Twain in a modern way that's really, really satisfying. So Peanut Butter Falcon is my vote.
So I have only seen this version of A Star Is Born. I don't have any other context for any of the other iterations. Just want to put that out there. I really like this movie. I think it's a solid movie. I think it's a really great kind of Bradley Cooper announcing himself as wanting to be more than just an actor. I think it's a great kind of first step for him. I mean, granted, I think he took a step back with his next one somehow, but that's a whole other conversation. But I think it was a really solidly made film. I think it's one of his best performances. I think it's him at his very, very peak of both acting and I think musically. It's a great fit for like his particular vocal range. It doesn't force him or ask him to do too much. And it lets him sit kind of right where he's comfortable, which is great. I think he has great chemistry with Lady Gaga. I think they just fit. Like they fit their characters very well. I think, again, it asks him to contribute to the musicality of it, but it really lets her shine in the music department and it really lets him shine in the acting department. And I think the balance they're able to strike with that is really great. Because I think she's a good actress, but I think it was really important to have him kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting for it to really work the way that it did. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. Bangers. Awesome. And yeah, I just think it's really solid. It was one of my favorite movies of that year. I'm kind of upset he didn't get the Oscar for it because now we're just going to live in a hell where he just does Oscar bait movies until he finally wins one. Instead of doing like interesting things, he's just going to be like, what can I do to get this trophy? And I'm going to be like, can we not please just like do interesting shit instead. That's a whole other rant though. So I'm voting for Star Is Born.
Marisol.
Yeah, very, very strong matchup. I think these are two pretty great movies. Peanut Butter Falcon, and I'll echo everything you said about the Twain of it all, and feeling like you're watching a very old-fashioned Southern fable play out on screen with an actor. Is this the first? I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first movie to star a person with Down syndrome? Probably not.
Not the first.
Yeah, probably not. But to have him be the lead on this level is a very special thing, and you could tell there was a lot of goodwill on that set and a lot of heart put into this movie. Dakota Johnson is sneakily one of my favorite. Maybe favorite is a strong word, but I enjoy every time I see Dakota Johnson in a movie. She's very, very understated, and she really sneaks up on you with her kind of tranquility and soft-spokenness. But yeah, and I also think this was part of the Shia-sance. That's a thing. Shia LaBeouf has a lot of problems off screen, but this American Honey Boy, and then Peanut Butter Falcon, he had this run here where he was showing that, you know, when he's focused and professional and on, he's a credit to us as an actor, and gives a lot of depth in his performances. Yeah, A Star Is Born. I've only seen the 70s version and this version of the 4 versions that have been made, and this absolutely trumps the 70s version, no question. But nothing tops Barbra Streisand's Evergreen from the 70s version, so that's a whole nother topic. Yeah, this is a wonderful tragic love story. This story is constantly being retold because it's that compelling and that fascinating. And it's being retold for The Artist was a remake of this story. You know, it's always being told, that ascension of somebody's career, a love story amidst somebody rising while somebody falling, and how beautiful the romance is, but how painful the realities are of that. And this was everybody brought their A game to this project. Taylor, you said it beautifully about like the strength of like both of them bringing their strengths to the table and making this movie really work. I totally 100% agree with that. This is such a neck and neck pick for me, but if I gotta pick one, I'm gonna go with the Peanut Butter Falcon. That's the one I'm gonna pick because, like you said, that is the one. I've seen A Star Is Born like 3 times. I've only seen Peanut Butter Falcon once, and I'm so ready to watch it again. Yeah, I am looking forward to rewatching that movie again and again. Gonna pick it.
I'm more mixed on both of these. Where I think Bradley Cooper is an actor's director. I think it's very clear that he will give actors a runway to go with whatever, like to act. But I think he really struggles a lot with narrative, and it's clear in both this and his follow-up that I think he misses the emotional beats, and that's kind of my biggest problem with Star Is Born. I think it misses a lot of the emotional beats and a lot of the impact hits. It doesn't impact me the final 15 minutes the way the movie thinks it should, or it's trying to set you up to be. Like I think Cooper's performance is phenomenal. I agree with you. I think he is absolutely phenomenal. I think Gaga is extremely good as well, but I also think that the emotional, I think the movie really lacks in the emotional beats. So I am Peanut Butter Falcon. Has been one that I've been wanting to see for a long time, but I've just never gotten around to it either. So I'm gonna go with A Star Is Born on a very because I've seen it, but it's also not a championing, screaming. Very happy for voting for this.
I watched Hustlers today.
I know.
Okay. I'm going to tell you that again.
That's fair.
I'm going to hear that all tomorrow, too.
Mara. I actually have no idea which one of these you're going to...
Yeah, Mara, here we go. We set this up. Now, Mara teased us. She was about to drop a bomb here, and now she has the tiebreaker.
So I am shocked. I'm shocked at what is about to happen here. So, I love that you brought up the Shia-sans, by the way, because I was also going to bring it up because this was kind of part of where that turn happened for me. Sad but true, his fall from grace after finding out that basically everything in Honey Boy was a fucking lie and that his dad wasn't a piece of shit has basically soured him on me pretty much permanently. I don't know if there's really any redemption for me personally about that.
It was a struggle, Mara. It was a struggle.
Well, yeah.
At least he would tell you.
Well, I mean, I feel like lying about your parental abuse to get clout and make a movie and try to get awards for it is pretty shitty. Anyways, so, but regardless, I do also have to ask one question though. Every time you see Dakota Johnson, have you seen the 50 Shades of Grey movies?
All 3 in theaters.
Did you see Madam Web?
Wait.
That understated.
That's not even. What the fuck was that? Hold on. This is very important. Hold on.
Oh, I know which one you're
No,
talking about.
have you guys not put yourselves through Persuasion? Because let me tell you, horrific experience. Anyway.
Wait, what is that? Which one is that?
It's the Netflix version of Persuasion where they like kind of try and like modernize like Persuasion where she like fourth wall breaks the camera while trying to do like a period. It's horrific. Anyway.
I don't know if I even know what that movie is. I'm going to watch it now.
Anyway, sorry.
No. I'm glad we did this. This was important. That being said, though, I actually did find Peanut Butter Falcon to be quite charming as an ensemble piece. I thought it was quite endearing, especially the fact that if there's anything you can take from Mark Twain that doesn't have like the use of racial slurs, I'm really, really happy about it. But and I love that the drop in the comment section about Mark Twain of Star Trek fame, because that's absolutely right. Mark Twain, who tried to like dime out the entire cast of Star Trek The Next Generation to that lovely innkeeper and trying to like be like, Guinan, what's going on with these people? Lovely deep cut reference there to what I think was season 5, 6 of Star Trek The Next Generation. So thank you for that, Liam Harold. Always pleasure to see that. Jeremy Miller is also correct. Greg Alba gave us the best performance of A Star Is Born. Who remembers that moment from the movie Kirby Schmodown where Greg Alba walked on stage and did, he pissed his pants.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I almost pissed my pants laughing at that. All right. Let me talk about A Star Is Born. I, the one who has seen every incarnation of A Star Is Born.
Woo.
And who fucking hates this movie. Yeah. I think that Lady Gaga's merits in this film as an actress are highly inflated because she is such a godlike singer. Her singing prowess, she may be one of the best popular music singers on the face of this earth that has ever walked it, because she actually can sing. She can sing without being modulated. She can sing without being auto-tuned. She can sing on a stage in front of her fans and sing her songs the way they sound on an album. She's one of the only people on this earth that can do it. Every other popular music singer, generally speaking, cannot actually sound like their album, no matter how good of a singer they actually are. Yes, I'm speaking to you, Ariana Grande. No matter how good you are, you don't sound like your album. I'm so sorry.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry.
Like, you are really fucking good, but you don't sound like your album. Lady Gaga does.
You, Tom Waits. I'm calling
but I think that in the moment, especially the way they cut that trailer, which was fucking smart, they were blowing up Lady Gaga's song. They weren't blowing up Lady Gaga anything else. And I mean, and she's beautiful. Oh my God, let's just stare at her. She's gorgeous. And Bradley Cooper does do the heavy lifting acting wise for the most part, but not for the all part. Because Adam, I think, pointed it out. In the end, I wasn't moved the way I should have been moved by her. The only thing that moved me in the end was Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott's grief was the only thing that made me feel grief because he's a great actor. And again, I'm not saying that makes the movie like unworthy of existing. It's worthy to exist. I'm glad it gives people like Taylor joy. I'm thrilled for that. No, I'm never going to take away anyone else's joy for a film. But that movie angers me. I also saw that trailer no fewer than 50 times. it had to have been a minimum of 50 times because
It
at
was
the
everywhere.
ArcLight reason, it kept running over and over again once. Like it ran like 3 consecutive times before one movie, and it did that more than one time. And I don't know why it kept happening. And at a certain point, I was like, I'm going to leave the movie I paid $18 for a matinee to go see in LA because I need to not ever see this trailer again. And I'm willing to maybe not ever see the movie to not ever hear the song from this trailer. The song that is a beautiful song, banger hit. Yeah, I don't know. And I think we were all pretty convinced that even though Bradley Cooper's baby mama was just sitting right there, that we were like, oh, those two definitely swapped some sort of fluid when they were at the Oscars, right? Because at that point I was like, maybe Gaga should win an acting award because if she's not acting, then they got to have a conversation. And if she is acting, then she got a lot better over the last few months.
Mara, I agree. He was charmingly bashful at the Oscars that year. He was.
Sad but true, though. I have to vote for Peanut Butter Falcon, and I thought I was going to be the only one that did it.
All right.
You better hope tonight gets better, because otherwise this is going to end very badly for you. If everything I vote for keeps getting kicked out, that's going to not be good for you.
All right. Next up. Oh, this will be interesting. Happy Death Day versus The Hateful Eight.
Interesting.
If you want, I'll start since I went last.
Yeah, Mara.
All right. I love Tarantino. I've also seen every one of his movies. I'm sure, honestly, we all have at this point. But I really love The Hateful Eight. I think for Tarantino, for me, there's like S tier. Then there's like a really, really healthy A tier. And for me, Hateful Eight is in that A tier. But even amongst the A tier, it's actually kind of mid A tier for me, which I know sounds kind of like, how are you saying that the A tier is like not great? It is great. But we've talked about Happy Death Day to You already a couple of times, but Happy Death Day, it did do it first. It did horror. It did horror comedy. It did Groundhog Day. Jessica Roth is fantastic. That movie blew me out of the water. I was so shocked. I was so surprised. I revisited it so many times, and I've seen Hateful Eight at least 4 times, if not maybe 5. So I have seen it more than once or twice. So like, I feel like I've got a pretty healthy grip on what I do love and what I don't love about it. I don't mind the slow burn. I don't mind the length. I don't mind that literally everyone in there is a racist. I don't mind that they destroyed a priceless piece of actual musical history. Like there's a lot of things about that movie that are really interesting, really fascinating. Like Jennifer Jason Leigh is just like, oh my God. Like Daisy is just, you just want to kick her in whatever teeth she has left in her face. And like a little hidden Channing Tatum. I'm like, oh, look, you little Tatum. There, where you been? In the floor. But I mean, given the choice though, I think the merits of Happy Death Day as a rarity in cinema and in the blending of the genres and the degree of difficulty far exceed what The Hateful Eight as a part of the Tarantino canon and a part of just the canon of dramas bring to the table. So I'm going to vote for Happy Death Day.
Adam.
I have a soft spot for Hateful Eight because I would love to see it as a stage production personally. I love the idea of doing a 70 millimeter film that's about an intimate space. And The Hateful Eight, of all of Tarantino's movies, even though they're heavily dialogue driven, Hateful Eight is the most stage oriented for me. And that's why that's an asset for me, because when I watch Hateful Eight, I find a lot of the subject matter to be well-worn territory for Quentin Tarantino. And I don't find it terribly imaginative for him as a filmmaker. I feel like he's going back to a lot of the wells he's been to. But the reason I like that is because I love the ensemble so much. I love Walton Goggins. I'm just going to say that straight up. I really love him. Everything I've seen him in the past decade excites me. I've only started getting into Fallout. I'll be caught up with it soon. but what I've seen so far of him in Fallout is great. I love him in everything he's done on HBO with Danny McBride and company. Most recently with Righteous Gemstones is Baby Billy. I love him. But he's one part of the ensemble in this movie. A lot of typical players. I also love Kurt Russell. I really, really do. I'm mildly obsessed with him as an actor. And when Hateful Eight came out, I was so on board with him being like the head of this ensemble. And, obviously the plot goes where it goes and it's interesting. But then, and I know it's not fair to bring this up really, but like the fact that he cashed in on his facial hair that year and did Bone Tomahawk makes me so happy because I love Bone Tomahawk. And if this was Bone Tomahawk versus Hateful Eight, that would be a really intense conversation. I just want to give Hateful Eight some credit because I do like it. I find it subversive among Tarantino's filmography. And I like that. I like that it's challenging a lot of what we expect from him. It's not terribly dynamic. We just had a Western from him, for Christ's sake. And he's doubling down with this longer version where less happens action-wise. I think that's bold, and I enjoy Hateful Eight for all those reasons. The day of the week might determine where I would vote on this, but we've talked about, like Mara said, we've talked about Happy Death Day quite a bit, both movies. And I'll be honest, like in the long run, because Tarantino's Tarantino, I revisit a lot of his movies just periodically because I like to. And maybe incidentally, I might watch Hateful Eight more over time. But what I appreciate about Happy Death Day is how fun it is, how it reintroduces the idea of horror comedy into the mainstream while also being thoughtful and provocative. And it's honestly a tough vote for me, but I want to give them both their flowers. I'll vote for Happy Death Day, though, in this particular scenario. Just a little bit.
Okay. Taylor.
Happy Death Day. Next.
Thank you, Taylor.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You can be.
I know that I don't have anything meaningful to add at this point. I've talked about how much I love the Happy Death Day movies. I don't have anything to say about the Hateful Eight, so I don't need to. Like, there are going to be movies where I'm going to want to take time from other people, and this is not one of them.
All right.
So,
Marisol.
I did not see this coming. I mean, wow, okay. Cool. I mean, look, yeah, we've all said about Happy Death Day, and it is, when it comes to rewarding, like acknowledging when a film is a small budgeted, really unique, I'm not gonna call it an indie film, but a smaller budget, unambitious, but creative, genuinely creative, with a filmmaker at the beginning, like kind of branching out as a filmmaker and with really nothing to lose, really going and giving us something really, really fresh and new. It's really exciting in this form of Happy Death Day. And I agree with everybody's saying, and love Jessica Rose to pieces. Tarantino, I am, as many people are, a massive fan of Tarantino. And what I find so fascinating is that Hateful Eight is probably my least favorite film by him. Like, I just think on the opposite end of the spectrum from Happy Death Day, with a filmmaker with a lot to prove and just without any pretension, just trying to just make a fun, very creative, very passion-filled, fun movie. I find Hateful Eight bloated and completely self-indulgent, and a reflection of a director now at a point in his career where he feels like he can do whatever the fuck he wants to, and people are gonna suck his nuts. And I get that. I rewatched Hateful Eight this week. I always keep
We had a
revisiting.
blast rewatching
Yeah,
it.
I keep it's like you said, we're gonna keep rewatching his movies because they're Tarantino movies and they're impeccably watchable. This is a fucking gorgeous looking movie, and nobody can film the shit and act the shit out of a movie or have people act the shit out of a movie than people for a Tarantino movie. This is A-tier filmmaking. But I just think to such a masturbatory purpose, and I feel like the messages are it's a big fuck you to the audience. It's a big fuck you with its messaging. I don't hate it as much as I'm making it sound like I do. I could still probably rewatch this movie tomorrow, but I'm very pleasantly surprised that everybody's like pulling for Happy Death Day, because I'm definitely going to vote for Happy Death Day. This is absolutely near the bottom of Tarantino movies that I really think are works that are going to really stand the test of time and are going to rise to the top of the pack of what we remember him the most for.
Wow. Okay, so everything you said about Hateful Eight is exactly how I feel about his next film. So we will, which I think is coming up later. I can't remember, in a different bracket. I can't remember if we've already talked about it or not. But I am one of the I love Hateful Eight a lot. Like, I really love it. So look, Happy Death Day's gone through. I may have voted for Happy Death Day, but I'm going to give Hateful Eight its flowers just because I really love it. I think this is a film about a filmmaker going back to his roots and going, this is where I am the strongest, which was dialogue. And just basically, as Adam said, I'm doing a stage show. I think that it's interesting because if you had told me this was his 10th film, that this was his 10th and final film, I would have believed it. I would have been, yep, this feels like a film of Tarantino's director going, this is the one that's going to put a bow on it. And I just love the dialogue so much. I love the scene. Like Samuel L. Jackson in this movie, I think is so underrated, and no one talks about how good he is in this and how he just completely owns the screen through everything. Like his monologue once he's got the three guys and he's like, all right, one of you, like after a certain death, and one of you did it, I don't know which one. His whole monologue from there is so perfect and so wonderful, and I just love everything about it. Yeah, I really dig Hateful Eight, and so yeah, I'm gonna go with Hateful Eight just to give it its flowers at least a little bit. All right, next one. This is I'm very sorry, Taylor. Kong Skull Island versus Everybody Wants Some.
What?
Do you want to start or do you want to end?
I don't want to. I don't want to. These are two movies I specifically chose to be in this bracket. So I love this for me as like a first round matchup. Okay, so as someone who's not a big Kong person, like I'm not really a monster movie person, I have my couple that I really like obviously Pacific Rim is a big deal for me. This is my favorite like Kong movie, just period. So this sucks, actually. So I love Kong Skull Island. I think it's like batshit crazy and just ridiculous and just like it's so dumb, and I love it so much. Like all of these movies are dumb, but I specifically love this one for being dumb. And being just over the top. I love the creature design in this one specifically. I think it's so interesting. I think having Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson there for literally no reason is a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Please do that all the time. Like the human characters don't matter, but when they're there specifically, I'm like, yeah, sure. Hell yeah. Let's go. Let's do it. I love the comedy in this movie. I think it really works well. But on the other hand, you have Everybody Wants Some, aka the better version of Dazed and Confused, which I know is very controversial. Don't care. I love Everybody Wants Some. I just have so much fun with it as just a hanging out, like vibes only kind of film. I think it encapsulates the time period so well. I think the cast is awesome. This was, one of our first real looks into Glenn Powell and who he was going to be. We got Wyatt Russell, who is awesome in the movie. We got my dude Tyler Hoechlin, who is completely still underutilized for some stupid reason. Well, he's been caught up with Superman, I guess, like doing the TV series. But
But not doing the hairdo.
well, and we're definitely and like, listen. There's one elephant in the room that I wish we could remove from this movie completely. Blake Jenner being in it, like, really upsets me on a personal level. So we just are going to pretend he's the least interesting character anyway. So it doesn't matter. Like, we're just going to pretend that he's not there. And then, yeah, anyway, the whole cast except for him is awesome because anyone who beats the crap out of their girlfriend can get flung off a cliff, especially when it's Melissa Benoist, who we adore. But this movie, the vibes are immaculate. The soundtrack opening with My Sharona, like, it just puts you right into it. And it's just fun. Like, it's just cool to see them, like, be like, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna go in the backyard and we're gonna hit a baseball around, but we're gonna do it with an axe and we're gonna try and cut it in half, just because, you know, bros and vibes and college and whatever. This is so tough for me. The vibes are immaculate in both of these movies for very different reasons. But you know what? We vibe with Linklater. We're gonna go with Everybody Wants Some.
All right. Adam.
Ha!
You all right?
Yes. What's happening? Where am I? No. I look, this is as good a time as any to confess. When I saw Kong Skull Island in theaters, I snuck a flask in there. And look, I'm just saying, I went in there, and by like halfway through the movie, I was a little loose, and I'm not going to get into the context of that time, but I will say that it enhanced the experience. And when I rewatched Kong Skull Island, it was really fascinating, honestly, because I watched it at like 2 p.m, like at home, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember any of this. and then I rewatched it not too long ago, because like, and you know, the Wyatt Russell of it all is so interesting, because I watched Monarch on Apple, which is pretty darn cool, not to sound like a dad, but that is a fun show, and it ties into all the monster movies in a fun way. The movies don't care that show exists, but the show cares that the movies exist. It's one of those.
It's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It's way better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, it is, but it has.
I watched 2 seasons of that shit, Jacob. It was exhausting. I know. I heard it had a resurgence, so I'm not trying to be unfair, but I struggled. So Kong Skull Island, the thing is, it's so dumb, and that's such an asset for a lot of people who love this movie, and it is for me at times, but it's frustrating. It's so frustrating to watch this movie because like the goofiness is exhausting after a while for me, because after the first half hour, it's so telegraphed and it's so derivative of all the things it's checking that like I forget I'm watching a Kong movie. I'm trying to focus on the Kong, and I'm distracted by the fact that this movie is like a super watered down, Vietnam, throwback that's virtually meaningless. I understand what it's trying to say, but I don't find Kong to be a meaningful metaphor for Vietnam, because I love Kong, and I also understand the reversal of that metaphor, because you have Sam Jackson saying, he's the reason I didn't win the war. I'm going to kill that ape. And I'm like, yeah, I get that angle too, but I don't find it interesting. I find Kong interesting. And I find the physicality of Kong in this movie to be pretty awesome. I love all the creatures in it. And it's really interesting because as a Star Wars fan, I love Star Wars because it finds a way to retrofit a lot of the stuff that we've seen with expanded canon. And I dig that. It doesn't work for everybody, and I understand that. But with the Godzilla and Kong stuff, they're doing that to an extent with the shows and tie-in material, and it enhances it, but it's frustrating because when you go back to watch something like Kong Skull Island, for me anyway, I want to engage with it on its own merits, and I try to, but like I also like really like that show. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Everybody Wants Some is fun. I love Richard Linklater. I really, really do. I grew up with Dazed and Confused. That was a very formative movie for me. Even at a young age, because like I just liked the ensemble. I liked the way the characters related to each other. I own both CDs of the soundtrack. There's Dazed and Confused and more Dazed and Confused. And I still listen to those CDs to this day. That has nothing to do with Everybody Wants Some. Does it?
I mean, you tell me. Where's this going?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
What do you think, baby? What do
Baseball, 1980, great soundtrack. I'm gonna vote for Kong Skull Island.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I am so I'm honestly weirdly torn on this, but I've watched Kong Skull Island more than Everybody Wants Some. I've seen it 3 times. I've seen Everybody Wants Some once. I haven't felt compelled to go back, and that's as a fan of Linklater. But I like Everybody Wants Some. I'm not offended by it. I think it's fun. But it's a little bit limited in its scope as an ensemble piece for me compared to something like Dazed and Confused, which has a pretty rounded view, not just in terms of gender, but in terms of age. So that's why Everybody Wants Some has a ceiling for me. And Kong Skull Island is stupid, but it's ambitious in a really, really admirable way. And that's why I vote for it.
Marisol?
Yeah, I mean, we all said it. Kong Skull Island is dumb. Like, yes, it is. And I like to call it Apocalypse Kong because it is. It really is, and it's a little goofy layering that over it. It doesn't quite line up. Like it doesn't line up, those two. But they tried for it and they went for it, and that's one of the cool things about at least trying to do it. You know, there's something a little bit endearing about that. Even though I don't like the nihilism in it, I don't like how it just like has a sustain and how it like kind of gleefully kills all like the human characters. Justice for Toby Kebbell, you know, like justice for like John Goodman, Shea Wiggum. Like, yeah, they turned his heroic moment.
Sam Jackson got his.
No, Sam Jackson got his.
He deserved
but
that,
like Shea Wiggum, they turn it into like the polka dot man moment from the Suicide Squad, where it's like, I'm on top of the boom.
I'm not over that. I'm not over it. Like,
I did it. Like, I'm like that stuff always. I'm like, ooh, that's dirty. Like, you don't have to do them dirty like that. No. But yeah, but it also introduced us to this new legendary version of Kong, which has become like my favorite thing about these legendary movies. I love his grumpy, like, oh, this shit again, like kind of energy. I really love the personality of Kong in this movie. And it continues to be consistent in the next sequels. Yeah, so, you know, it has that going for it. And then we got Everybody Wants Some, which I finally watched this week. And it's been a while since I wanted to.
She watched it on Pluto with all the commercials. Yes. I'm just saying. She deserves all the credit. You know how many commercials are on Pluto? Like an hour.
Yes. It's been a while since I felt this about a movie. I wanted to turn this movie off after 15 minutes. Wow. It's really intense. Like, I'm not as angry as I'm gonna make it sound like I am about it, but I get it. It was just like a fluff piece, and Richard Linklater just wanted to make a movie about when he was in college in Texas in the 80s, and it's so rose tinted and innocent. What could go wrong? For me, it was just, it said what it needed to say after the first 15 minutes. I get it. They're all hanging out and it's fun, but the movie makes a fatal mistake of just sticking with the baseball bros. And there's only so many times you could tell me that they all have like hearts of gold and everything, when I know that like it just seemed like a complete fantasy to me. And when I realized that the movie wasn't, I just think it's a fluff movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just didn't want to spend time with the baseball bros for like an hour, 40 minutes. And as usual, there's only one, all the girls are sluts, and like, you know, all the girls are girls that like are easy to sleep with. And then there's the one the one smart girl who's worthwhile because she demonstrates to the guy who loves to sleep with a bunch of girls that she's smart and therefore she's valuable. Like, you know, and that's just so antiquated. And it's a throwback movie, you know, and it's not that offensive as making it sound, but it just was a waste of my time. It just, I was like, there's not a lot here for me. I just think it was something Richard Linklater wanted to fluffy in because he fondly remembers, man, I was so innocent. College was so fun. We were just about having fun. And I call a little BS on it. But Wyatt Russell is MVP. Like there would have definitely some creepy dudes in that bunch. But more than the movie makes it seem like there were. And like you said, Dazed and Confused, I think, is a stronger movie because it shows how a dweeby freshman dealt with a cocky senior who dealt with a Matthew McConaughey who's way too old but creeps and hangs around. And it showed women, female characters, how they come into this mix. It showed, like you said, a fully rounded. It's a hangout. It's a movie moment, but it shows a lot of facets of youth in transition and how they all relate to each other. And Everybody Wants Some is so narrow focus. It's these one group of dudes, and I don't think it says a lot about them other than they're like, wow, we had fun. Now I guess we gotta hope we like make it through our semester. And it's just, I'm never gonna revisit it. So I vote for Kong Skull Island. In case you couldn't tell.
Ma?
Uh-oh, I froze
Oh,
Mara.
sorry, I didn't hear you. I can basically just say that Marisol said everything I was going to say about Everybody Wants Some. And because I only saw it once and I was like, yeah, I don't ever need to see this again. And Kong Skull Island, I've seen that movie. It's at least 10 times, like at least. And again, I'm the kaiju person. I love the big monsters. I love when the big monsters punch other monsters. I love when they fist throat fuck other monsters. Like I love all the monster things. And John C. Reilly was just a treat in this movie. And yeah, it has problems. Like, honestly, let's just face it. Brie Larson's character was the most one-dimensional, I have boobies and I wear a tank top character that there ever is. She was just so useless.
She took photographs.
Oh my God. She didn't ask or explain what the significance of a photograph was to a culture that didn't understand photographs when there are cultures in the world that think your soul is taken when a photograph is taken of you. She's the best. She's so great. Yeah. So go white people. Anyways. So, but yeah, no, it's the monkey movie. So it's Kong Skull Island.
All right. With that, Kong Skull Island does move on. Next up, we have The Martian versus Sucker.
Oh no!
Honestly, do you have any idea how much fun this specific bracket has been with problematic movies with problematic messaging?
Oh God!
All right, Mara. Well, we'll start with you on this one.
All right. Do you want to know maybe one of the most quintessential movies that's like, man, I'm Zack Snyder and I'm making a statement about a certain kind of movie, and I'm making an on-the-nose message, except I'm actually part of the problem. Like, could he have been more of a sad, lost little boy making this movie? He really, I seriously think he really thought that he was making a commentary about a thing, except he was the thing he was making the commentary about. But I really think he earnestly thought that that's what he was doing. That's the thing that makes it the most sad. But oh, good God, those poor actors. Those poor actors that really probably thought that because I really think that's what he pitched to them. And I think that's what they thought they were doing. I feel so bad for all of them. Everyone. I feel bad for all of them. Every one of them. And the people that paid money to see that movie, myself included. I feel bad for me. I feel bad for all of us. I feel bad. I want to know, you know what? I want to know if that movie is in the National Library of Congress. I'm going to check after I speak. I'm going to go and I'm going to check. Because it probably fucking is. But okay. I mean, I don't need to get into the particulars. I think we all know exactly the problems I'm talking about exploitation and all that stuff. But The Martian. Oh man, poop farming. This movie is just it's fluffy science and it's space sluts, and I'm a space slut, and it's fluffy science, and it's poop potatoes, and and it's CGI skinny pirate, and I love all of those things. It's not the most like I'm gonna use this as a pun. It doesn't have the most gravity to it as a like space sci-fi epic can have, but it's a fun watch. I love a nice little buried Jeff Daniels hidden in a movie somewhere where I'm like, oh hey NASA, and like Kristen Wiig getting to like not just be like, oh, I'm on drugs on an airplane. Like, I love when she gets to act and just like be a regular person character because like people forget she can act. It's a fun movie. It doesn't mean that it's like, pièce de résistance, but it's not fucking Sucker Punch. So it's the mashing.
Mara, I'm gonna
and it has ABBA, lots of ABBA.
There you go.
I'm gonna jump off what you said because I actually think it's the film's biggest strength is that it's not this overly deep, overly like this, it's not gravity or that type of thing. I think it's a huge strength of The Martian because it is this kind of lighthearted and it makes you just fall in love with this cast and this character, and like you are instantly rooting for him to survive straight away, and you are wanting it, and you're like, no, I love everything about it. I think this is the single most effortless performance I've ever seen from Matt Damon. He is effortless in this movie and just so perfect and absolutely wonderful. And in the next movie we're going to talk about, I wish that Damon won the Oscar for this because I think he absolutely deserved it in that year. I think he is incredible in this. I think it is Ridley Scott's best movie in the last, I want to say, at least 20 years, and that's coming from someone who loves Robin Hood. This is such a wonderfully made movie, and I love every single second of it. The Martian easily gets this one. It is one of my favorite films from this decade. I think it's endlessly rewatchable and just an incredibly easy and fun movie to watch. Marisol.
The irony of this, I think maybe I said it to you, or maybe even I thought it
17 times.
No, I was like, The Martian. I was like, only way I'm ever gonna vote for The Martian if it's. I was looking at this bracket this week is if it's against like fucking Drek, like fucking Sucker Punch, and lo and behold, here we are. Lo and behold, that's why I couldn't handle it. I was like, no fucking way. I was like, here we are. The Martian versus Sucker Punch.
The resentment fallout on this, Jacob, is high. I'm telling you, it's going to last for a few years.
I feel targeted here. Somebody was like, not today, bitch. Like Martian, what everybody's saying about the fluffiness of it is what I find annoying about it. I know I was that person who like everybody's like, oh my god, The Martian. I was like, all the needle drops I find like falsely perky. I was like, what's everyone so goddamn happy about?
Fuck bars, stupid planet.
No, but I couldn't. I think my core thing with The Martian, and I haven't read the book. I know it was very popular. I know so many people enjoy this movie, but like for me, the big crux of it, I was just like, I couldn't buy into that. I couldn't just buy into that world, and I was like, people are in trouble. Why is a whole planet stopping for this one smug ass douchey astronaut? Like, I was like, he chose to go up there. I'm just like, no
one went and saved Don Cheadle.
Nobody saved Don Cheadle or the brother from Interstellar. Like, and nobody came. I'm gonna bring it back to that point. Nobody came after these guys. Okay, but the world got to stop for Matt Damon and his potatoes. But yeah,
they did change his character a bit from the book. He was also an engineer. Like, he wasn't just like some space botanist or whatever. He was multi-talented.
I just believe it.
To be fair,
I think the world does stop when something like this happens, and I think the Thailand Soccer Boys is the evidence of it. The world stopped. The world stopped and watched as those or the Titanic submarine. The world does stop and was there like, is something going to happen? Now, obviously, the Titanic submarine, they didn't get them. The Thailand Soccer Boys, the world stopped as they were trying to get those kids out to try and make sure that So I do think that the world does stop when stuff like this happens.
Yes. Oh, the soccer boy. Those are the innocents in this. I will agree. Yeah, I'll agree that I will not to get into that like a wormhole, but like a tangent. But like, yeah, there's a difference between the people who are electing to do things and tragedy strikes, and yes, and innocent kids are onto something. I totally get that. My argument is just like, yes, I couldn't get on that wavelength for this movie. So Martian annoys me that it does a lot of people, but it don't matter because I'm gonna by default vote for The Martian. Look, let the record show, everybody. I'm the bigger person here today, and I'm still gonna vote for a movie that I kind of find annoying because, damn it, it is not the unfeminist unmasterpiece that Sucker Punch is. Oh my god. Oh my god. I will say one good thing about Sucker Punch, and that's because it was a hell of a kickoff year for Oscar Isaac, and he had this and Drive, and Oscar Isaac is by far the best thing in Sucker Punch with his guy liner, and his like unpredictable rage in Sucker Punch, by far the best thing. While I like a lot of Zack Snyder movies, I completely 1000% agree with the short-sighted hypocrisy of this man's visions sometimes with his feminist masterpiece. So yes, you happy The Martian? Happy everybody? The Martian. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get to bed by like 3 a.m. now here.
But I ain't happy about it. Okay, but I ain't
That's
happy about
Eastern too.
Adam.
Great. Well, look, Jacob, I'm really glad you included Sucker Punch on this list. You know, like we really need to elevate the cinematic conversation. And I'm so glad that people didn't have a chance to look into this movie, Holy Motors, by Leos Carax, who did Annabelle. Yeah, you know, like Annette. Annette.
I was going to say, I think more importantly, you mean Annette. Yes.
Because it's late. Annabelle was directed by the guy who did Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and we're not going to talk about that. But Annette was a great film, and Holy Motors is too. So I just wanted to plug that for a second. Go watch this movie. It came out in the 2010s, but no one cares. Sucker Punch also came out in the 2010s. Thank you, Jacob. You made it.
No one also cares.
You take responsibility for it. It's your movie. The Martian is Dad Space, and I know you're getting a little worn out with Dad Space, baby. I know. I was like, it's like, look, I'm gonna hike up my jeans.
There's a lot of dudes in space
I'm gonna make a sandwich, and I'm gonna go explore some planets. Yeah. And I know it's got a ceiling, baby. I know it does.
That's fine. What do you think?
Look. I think The Martian is fine. And when I looked into Sucker Punch this week, you know that shit's only rentable, and that wasn't gonna happen. That wasn't gonna happen, Jacob. I'm just leveling with you. I only have like 4 movies I didn't, or 3 or 4. Well, this is one of them. I haven't seen Sucker Punch. All right. And when it came down to it, it was only rentable for $4. I was like, no. It was between that and Shame, and that was an easy vote. We'll get to that later. But The Martian is fine. It's charming. It's got a great ensemble. It's got some good space humor. And with all the Mars movies out there that are so dire and so nihilistic, it's fun. And that's cool.
I think it was, in fact, like the only happy space movie of the 2010s. I don't think there was another
one. It was much less dour.
Yeah.
I vote for The Martian. There you go. But watch Holy Motors, people. It's available on Blu-ray, pretty much only. There you go.
Tell.
Yeah. So I want to just piggyback off of something that Marisol said, which is Sucker Punch. The only thing worth talking about realistically is Oscar Isaac. And the problem is the best scene that he's in is only in the director's cut of the movie.
Oh.
Because he sings a whole song, does a whole musical number.
Oh God, you've seen it twice then.
And he kills it. He goes out on that stage and he does a whole performance with his guy liner, and it's a whole thing. And it's like, cool. Glad you didn't keep that in the movie. love that for us. That like you had him do the whole thing. We know what he's capable of. Watching Inside Llewyn Davis, we know what that voice does, and you cut it out of the movie. It's gone. So, I will say though, this is a rare thing, especially for him where he's concerned. But the director's cut is the better version of the movie. Just overall. I'm not going to subject anyone else to watching it again to like watch that. Director's cut is the better version of the movie, actually. But that being said, The Martian, if it's on, I will watch it. If it's on like halfway through and somebody puts it on, if there's 5 minutes left, if it's the whole movie, if it like, I will watch. Like that'll probably end up being like one of my Letterboxd most rewatched movies of all time at the end of things, at the end of my existence. It's just so rewatchable. I love the cast. I love the humor in it. I think the needle drops are great. I love the music. Anything that puts a bunch of ABBA in it, I'm like, hell yeah, rock and roll. I love that it's a running joke of the movie where it's like you listen to horrible music and I'm like, thank you for insulting my music taste. Lovely movie. I love being called out like that specifically. I have so much fun with it. I think that it is one of the better movies that year. It had a real tough year, unfortunately, of going up against a bunch of things that we're just gonna kind of beat it out. But no, yeah, I'm not gonna go on too much of a tangent. I'm gonna pick The Martian, even though from the sounds of it, I like Sucker Punch more than anyone else on this whole panel. Which is kind of ironic because he is like anything.
You do not like Snyder.
I hate Snyder, and I hate watching his movies when he puts out something new, and it's like a bane of my existence whenever the internet has to talk about him for any reason.
We're gonna do a watch along for both Rebel Moons, right?
Oh God,
no.
If someone could offer me $1 million, and I would have to think about it. But yeah, anyway, The Martian.
Yeah. Well, let's pour one out for Oscar Isaac's dance number, which I almost said
was Eclipse and Ex Machina, right?
Well, yeah, but thank God for YouTube because I'm immediately going to YouTube that. Let's also pour one out for all the movies that could have been on this bracket that weren't because of Sucker Punch. Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah, God bless.
I was fucking boss. All right, next up, Hot Tub Time Machine
happening?
The Revenant.
Okay.
Adam, let you stop.
Yeah, that was quite a reaction.
Look, I'm going to say this about Hot Tub Time Machine. The one thing it has going for it is Crispin Glover. I love Crispin Glover's entire arc in this. Nobody else cares, and that's fine. But I just want to shout it out because he's missing an arm, and the mystery is not that fascinating. But the fact, you know what, the mystery that is fascinating though. Why Crispin Glover decides to do anything. Because whenever he decides to do a movie or a show, I'm like, why though? Why are you doing this? And it's usually because he has to pay for his estate in the Czech Republic. The Revenant, by comparison, is a movie that got so much shit the year it came out because it was so portentous. It's like, whoa, it thinks it's meaningful, but is it meaningful? It's not. It's man and beast and nature and like it was so easy to cut it down because like I get it. But I'll be honest. When I watch The Revenant, for me, it's not a story of triumph at all. I find it relatable because it's a story about someone being completely stripped down to their barest aspects. It is a tragic story about, a parent losing their child in one way. Yes. But it's also like a story about balancing the ledgers and not in like a boring, like for me anyway, I don't find it to be like a traditional rote revenge story. I really like Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in it because of how nonverbal it is. Compared to all the other roles he's been nominated for, he's very verbose, and I think he's highly qualified in those roles. but I responded to The Revenant because it was seeing DiCaprio in a stripped down role that wasn't as verbal, obviously. And I just like that about The Revenant. I think it's very, very straightforward, but I love the way it's filmed. I love the score. And Hot Tub Time Machine is cute. It's cute. And I love Crispin in anything. Look, I am. Look.
He was the only person in the movie.
I watched American Gods just because he was in it, and it paid off because that was a solid show. But then I watched like he did a movie about the Donner Party back in the 2000s. No one cares about that. It doesn't matter. I vote for The Revenant. And Crispin should have been in The Revenant. He would have been great. He grows an amazing beard. You know, you don't realize that, but he has an amazing beard. I saw that in the Donner Party movie, which would have lined up with the Revenant timeline to some extent, but it's fine.
Taylor?
Doesn't matter.
Really? Okay. I haven't seen The Revenant and don't plan to. I've seen Hot Tub Time Machine and it fucks. So Hot Tub Time Machine.
Because of Crispin Glover, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Marisol?
Yeah, so I mean if there's any like matchup where we need like a mashup of these two movies, it's just like I don't even know what would go on. But yeah, there probably would be a bear in a hot tub at some point in this movie. But
or a poor Leo fit with his open wounds.
I mean, look, Revenant, Iñárritu was on turbo mode in the 2010s. Like he was really just he's like, I gotta get all these movies out right now. He's like, I got this idea and this idea for this movie. He was cranking. And Emmanuel Quebec, his DP, who's been with him on like him and work with Quran on a lot of movies. They were firing and The Revenant is, man, it's 2.5 hours almost of like just Leo DiCaprio getting his ass handed to him by nature, like the
so
whole time. So much fleshy bits. But man, if it doesn't, it grabs you by the throat, literally at a point. And as a filmmaking experience, and it was fantastic in theaters, obviously. And I'm definitely going to vote for it. I'll just get that out of the way. I am definitely going to vote for The Revenant here, because I think it made me feel a lot like when I watched a lot of parts from The New World, from a Terrence Malick movie in a lot of ways, with just the stark and brutal beauty of the frontier of pretty much wild America, and what the consequences, you feel those real world consequences for the human body. And it got Leo his Oscar. We all love that. Not because he was owed it, but because like it was pretty cool that he put all this blood and sweat and tears into a role and it paid off. I'm just going to say this about Hot Tub Time Machine, even though I'm not voting for it. One of the things that I really, really can't stand is like masturbatory like throwbacks to 80s movies where people romance and glorify the 80s by just doing something like, honestly, don't sue me, like a Ghostbusters Afterlife, where they just like harken back to it and nostalgia bait and just say like, wow, it was just so great, but we're going to make like a modern movie that just makes references to something that happened in the past. And what I do think is unique and pretty fun about Hot Tub Time Machine is that it actually creates an original movie, just trying to evoke the style of all the comedies that it's emulating from the 80s by just making a new movie, like a new original movie, channeling all that style and fluff and silly ski lodge 80s party movie energy. I do give it credit for that, for actually being like an original movie trying to do that, rather than just being a movie just making references to like Revenge of the Nerds or whatever, or like a Ghostbusters Afterlife that just pretends to be a new story, but just making references. That's what I'll say about Hot Tub Time Machine. And by having John Cusack in there, that really works full circle. Craig Robinson cracks my shit up all the time. And yeah, the cast is great. It's a cast of really strong, supportive comedian performances. Don't you dare whisper Crispin Glover.
Wispin.
Yeah, so that's the one thing I'll say to Hot Tub Time Machine. I do enjoy it. It's fluffy, silly fun, but it's not going to get in over The Revenant for me.
Mara?
I'm just going to say that I vote for The Revenant, and I will yield my time until the next time we talk about The Revenant, because I have thoughts.
Fair. I would have gone. Look, I'm both of these movies. I'm so meh on. I don't really care about either of them. I'm not a massive Revenant
Well,
fan.
then why'd you put him in the bracket over Holy Motors, you son of a bitch? Or I Saw the Devil. Let's
That's
talk.
But I'll go with Hot Tub Time Machine just because I really don't care about The Revenant. So, but we'll talk about that next round.
I'm gonna Revenant you, London. I'm gonna Revenant you.
All right, Adam. This is specifically for you. Because,
I'm feeling targeted even before you announce this.
Yeah, this was Adam watched these movies this week. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
What in the... This is weird. You're weird. You're a weirdo. You moved to Arizona.
I'm going to tell you because you actually did watch both of these this week.
All right. Fair enough. Look, I did watch these movies this week for the first time, and poor girl. Yeah, I watched them both for the first time.
Oh shit!
He was in the movie Depressed this week.
This is fun. This is fun. No. I'll tell you what. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I missed out on that trend, obviously, a decade ago. And I got so far away from it. I was like, I'll get around to it eventually. And now I'm in this weird position where I watched the David Fincher film, and now I want to watch the Swedish trilogy because like they were all shot at the same time, and I'm like, I just know I'm gonna vibe with those. And then for poor Fede Alvarez with his movie, I've heard terrible things. And I'm not gonna prioritize that. But Fincher's version was a good baseline, I'd say, because like for me, as someone who honestly needed a primer on this franchise, it was a good primer. I love Daniel Craig. I really like Rooney Mara's performance in this. I love the score because Atticus and Trent always crush it. But the pacing is bananas. Like this movie is so unwieldy. And I know the original version is a similar length, but I'll reserve my judgment until I see it. This movie, the pacing was bizarre, and it had more climaxes than Return of the King. I know that's a common punchline, but it did. Like you reach this climax in the story, and then you keep going. And I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, I care enough about these characters that I'm interested enough in seeing where this goes, but it felt by the time we got to the final stretch of the movie, I was frustrated because like I didn't buy into the entire denouement of the film, if that makes any sense, because it had already wrapped itself up, and then I was fine with a little bit of like context after that, but then it kept going and going and going. What I will say is an asset for me, at least, of the movie is the fact that it let me live with both Lisbeth and Mikhail before they were their narratives collided. I liked that I cared about both of the characters before they interacted. That said, when they interacted, I liked it well enough, but it felt a little perfunctory in terms of the way they interacted with each other. Still, fascinating thriller, interesting. But like a lot of books that are turned into movies, I'm like, I can feel how much of a book this is. I could feel how the book just keeps going, and they could have improved that through adaptation. Shame, I watched literally today, and what I admire most about it is its efficiency. It's an acting showcase. It's fearless. It's honest. I think the thing that's most impactful about it is so many movies that deal with sex treat it like it's this, like thing to arrive at in the narrative. And what I love about Shame is how much it humanizes sex, and it makes it very, very basic in some scenes and very, very impactful in other scenes. And I was really surprised by how it managed to seem so provocative without feeling cheap. I felt challenged by the movie the entire time. I'm still processing it because I literally watched it today. But I love Michael Fassbender in pretty much everything, but I loved him in this. He's so Fassbender. But the fact that when Carey Mulligan's character is introduced, I don't know that they're siblings, and you have to like arrive at that fact. Sorry for anyone who hasn't seen it. But that's early on in the film. Again, I'm really unpacking a lot about this movie, but I found it to be surprisingly emotionally mature given its subject matter. And we were talking about this afterwards. I find the NC-17 rating so bullshit. It's so stupid and arbitrary because the only purpose it serves is limiting theatrical distribution. And the fact that this movie was rated NC-17 is so arbitrary, and it could have found a much wider audience in its theatrical release if they'd just given it the R rating. Because why are we this in fear of full frontal nudity? This movie is so frank about it, and it takes away so much of the weight of that. I'm obviously working through why Shame. I vote for it over The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think it's way more efficient. I think it's very, very smart and very, very mature, even though it's confrontational.
Mara.
Oh man, this is a delight. So I've read the book and I've seen both versions of the movie and all of the girl with many blah blah blahs after the words movies, both the goods and the bads. I do recommend seeing all of the rest, even the bad one, just because you must know.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean,
He must be tortured.
Yeah, just why not? You might as well just complete the set. But I really do think Adam kind of summed it up pretty well, that Shame just has it's funny because for a movie that just has like, oh, look at us with our big bad boy adult rating, like it's actually a movie that is probably one of the most adult movies ever made. And I mean that in the sense that it's a movie of actual maturity. Like it's a movie that takes adult concepts and adult themes and actually treats them with adult maturity and not to be shocking, because I do think that a lot of times, and I'm not saying that movies shouldn't provoke, like movies should provoke in the right ways, but movies should also probe. And I don't mean that graphically because of the nature of the movie, but I just mean like they should allow us to examine. And I think that that movie has a really delicate balance between the two things in a way that is just like, it's so tactful, and it didn't have to be, and it chose to be, and it is so well acted. And Carey Mulligan, oh my God. Like I do think people mostly talk about Fassbender in that movie, like when just like the general populace of people like that have seen the movie talk about the movie, and they also talk about his fluffer, and it's like, whatever, like get real. But like talk about her, she's so good, and the movie would be great if it was someone else, but I think it truly succeeds because of her. Like I think if it was someone else it'd be great, but I don't think it would be as incredible as it is without her. She's so good. I think that this movie, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it is something. I do think Rooney Mara is going for it a lot. I do think that a little bit more credit is given to the lengths at which she went to like method it, more so than the movie itself actually being like fully formed and good. I think that's more what people remember about it and talk about it. And Daniel Craig is fine. Like, he's an actor. He acted. He did a job. And the rest of the people in the movie are fine also. And the music is banger, which I agree with. But the other version's better. Like, that's just how I take it. Maybe it's also because I read the book way before then. I saw the other movie way before then. And so part of that might just be like the bias of it being first. But I also do think that it's better. So even though I gotta say I've only seen Shame twice, I've seen this version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo at least 3 times. I don't need to see it any more than that. I'd gladly watch Shame more. Even with having seen it fewer times, I know that it is a movie that is vastly superior to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So shame, shame, shame. Ring, ring, ring.
Marisol.
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. Yeah, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I agree with all the things that you guys are saying. Oozing style. It's a venture movie. Hello. But yeah, could have used maybe a tighter adaptation, maybe for it. I felt like I did feel like we were drifting through a novel for most of that movie, and I do think, Mara, that the Swedish version, the Swedish film adaptation is stronger. But yeah, and Rooney's going for it, and without Lisbeth Salander,
That's correct.
Yeah. As that central character, the movie loses so much edge. I mean, arguably you could say that about the whole thing. But the point is that yeah, Shame is. When's the last movie we made something about this? We need to talk about sex more in films, and we need to talk about this aspect of sex more. And the best thing, one of the strongest things about this movie is the ways it shows different layers of sex. Sex as just a strict physical act. Sex as an act of desperation. Sex as a moment of intimacy, of emotional intimacy, and two people connecting or not connecting. And in this movie, all about sex. None of it's done cheaply. And the parts that have me on the edge and I can't look away, and the most like on the edge of my seat parts of the movie are the relationship between the two siblings in this movie, which is between Carey Mulligan and Michael Fassbender. And it's a wonderful movie about two probably abused siblings and how they navigate their dysfunction, both familial dysfunction and sexual dysfunction. And it's just met as clinically and candidly as possible. And it will stay with you and sear you and get under your skin. And all those feels is just make it a no-brainer pick over Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is intriguing but leaves me cold.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter, but I would have picked The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So
I probably also would have gone Shame. I would have gone with Shame. I kind of agree with what you guys were all saying about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I was like over the moon excited for this, and it just there's something missing. And I have never been able to explain what it is. But when you watch the original trilogy as well, like nothing's missing there. And I have a feeling it could have also been that they really did think they were getting the sequels. And I think that's the one big problem with the last 15 minutes is they thought that we were getting the sequels. So they're really like setting up for that. Yeah. Shame. You guys said it perfectly. I think it's a really fascinating, and I hesitate to use the word beautiful, but really delicately done film about sex addiction and abuse and dealing with with addiction and how to how that impacts people. And I thought that, and I just think that the way that the film handles that, I think Steve McQueen is a terrific director, and this was really a jumping off point for the rest of his career we've seen from the rest of the decade. So I'm going with Shame. All right. Well, Taylor, I will give you the runway. Nope, you don't want to.
No, you're not.
Okay. All right. Runway for this one. Next up, we have Vox Lux versus The King's Speech. Mara, I'll let you start. You look excited.
Okay. I'm not a huge fan of the King's Speech. Shocking, I know. I think Vox Lux is a fucking masterpiece work of art. I love that movie. I think Natalie Portman is so underrated in it. I think she's just like chef's kiss extra, like batshit nuts. I think she's delightful. I think The King's Speech is fine. It's not a bad movie. I just don't like it that much. Like, I get it. Everyone loves it. Fun story about it though. So I rented it from a was it Redbox? That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
From a Redbox outside of a supermarket in Hampton Roads area, Virginia, right before my final deployment on the USS Enterprise in 2011. And I forgot to take it back before deployment. So it came with me on deployment. And, if you keep it for however many weeks, like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something at like however much, like 99 cents a day, then they just charge you for the movie. And if you do bring it back ever, they will refund you the full price of the movie. And so I kept it for 6 full months. And then I took it and I gave it back. And I only watched it once and I was like, yeah, I don't like it. But I gave it back.
But how much money
did
did you get back? You don't mind me asking. Like
You
approximately.
got back the purchase price of it. So I only got charged like the 3 weeks of like whatever it was, like $1 a day or something. So I think it was like $20.
Okay.
However, whatever the late fees were, like it wasn't egregious. I forget what the Redbox rates were at the time. It was 13 years ago. But anyways, so yeah. So the King's Speech, I took that disc from Virginia all the way over to the Middle East, down over outside of Somalia, and back through the Mediterranean and back over to Virginia. So that disc saw some shit. But yeah, no, I'm going to be the only one voting for Vox Lux, but I don't care. I give no fucks. That movie is it is extra. The costume design in that movie, her hair, her makeup, like that movie is underrated AF. I love it. She's just, people don't talk about like, okay, sure, she can put on a semi consistent accent and play Jackie Onassis, and people are like, oh my God, give her an Oscar. And then she does this and people are like, oh, she's playing a pop star? What? Like, okay, we need to realign our priorities artistically. All right. So yes, I'm going to vote for Vox Lux. I shall be the only one. I'm Highlander next.
Would you like to go now, or?
I mean, I guess I can.
I thought after that you would like to.
Well,
oh, okay.
Why?
No, oh, okay, sorry. Okay, no,
I'll go, but
okay, no, sorry. I just
don't understand what angle you're trying to take here. With
Jacob,
this.
you're not on the couch now. You're sleeping in the bathtub.
Yeah, this one's a weird one for me, just because I feel like Mara and I might be like 2 of the 17 people on the planet who watched Vox Lux when it came out. And I didn't see the King's Speech until a couple weeks ago. I kind of actively avoided that movie because of the Tom Hooper of it all, to be honest. And also I was kind of mad at it that year. But anyway, this is a weird one because I really actually loved the King's Speech. I was kind of surprised by how much I was into it. I think Colin Firth is great in it. I think Helena Bonham Carter is great in it. I love the kind of chemistry you get between Colin Firth and Jeffrey Rush in the film, in their scenes together. And I think it's just a really well done film that makes me go, what the fuck is happening with the rest of his movies? Why can he only direct one movie and the rest of them are shit? Like, I don't understand what the problem is here. It's baffling to me. Like, maybe he should stay away from musicals. Maybe that's the problem. Just leave them alone and stop torching them for the rest of us, please.
And as a white British guy, maybe don't do the trans movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into that's going to be a whole. If we want to stop recording before 3 a.m. for the East Coasters, I'm not going to go down that route right now. We can have that conversation another day. Vox Lux, it's awesome because everything that Mars said, the costume design, the hair and makeup, like getting this really, like grittier story about a pop star and dealing with fame and having to kind of pick herself up and put the pieces back together after dealing with this tragedy while still like having to be in the spotlight and having to like figure all this stuff out. Like it's such a great movie and she's so great in it. And it's actually a really tough matchup for me just because it is like, I do love Vox Lux, but I also do think that The King's Speech is a great movie and it's probably Tom Hooper's only great movie. And I do think that like they're both movies that I would rewatch for sure. But yeah, this one's tough for me, but I am gonna go with Vox Lux.
All right. Marisol.
I feel like I should go last.
Okay. Adam.
Thanks.
This worked out gangbusters for me last week. I just like was like pass.
You wanna know what though? This bracket show has turned me into the ace of free trials on Prime, because what I did is I did the 7-day trial of Cinemax and I did the 70-day trial of MGM Plus just so I wouldn't have to pay for a rental for a couple of movies. And it's not because I was disrespecting the movies. I was just trying to save a few bucks.
That's
but
also called disrespecting the movies.
it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
They're getting their money from Cinemax and MGM.
Not
Presumably.
from you, yeah.
My cheap ass.
Yeah.
You did not complain.
I'm not. Look, you don't need to blow
She
my
watched.
spot.
She watched so much
and I
Cinemax
fully watched
in a
his
week.
free trial after he signed
She
up
like
for it.
she watched. What did you watch? Like 3 or 4 movies that
You
were only
damn right I did. I
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
5.
not bracket contention movies either, sir.
But yes,
I will
anyway.
tell you that. Okay. All right, let's dial it back. So I activated Cinemax so I could watch Vox Lux, and then I watched Locke, which I know we're not talking about because it didn't make the bracket for some reason, which is insanity. Because I saw it, and god damn it, we could have a conversation. It's fine. I watched Vox Lux though, so I earned the right to complain about Locke. And I liked Vox Lux for what it was. I was engaged with it the whole time. I love Natalie Portman, just in these kind of roles where she's combative and really, really, really gregarious, and just I liked her character a lot. Is it Brady Corbett or Corbet? Do we know that for sure? The director?
I say Corbett because it's 2 T's.
Yeah, I
I
thought
don't
it was Corbett.
Yeah. So, only having really known him from his performance in Funny Games, I was fascinated to discover that he directed this movie. And I know he directed another movie beforehand, which I haven't seen, to be fair. But the fact that he could rally a cast like this and just all the talent behind this movie, Sia, her energy is all over this movie, which I really appreciated. I like the music in the movie a lot. I love that when I listen to the concert performances, I just wanted to know the lyrics, and so I turned on the captions. And what was so awesome was that, like, for parts of the songs, is the people who did the captions were like indistinct. I'm like, I can hear the lyrics though. And they were like, well, no, that's not the point. I felt like the people who were doing the captions like, that's not the point, bro. Just lose yourself, like listen to the music. So I really appreciate all of that. It was dealing with so many themes in one movie. With everything it was unpacking. I felt like the commitment to the casting choices were really bold, because for me, it's so disorienting halfway through the movie to see Natalie Portman, like play her character, and then you see, like the younger version of her character playing her daughter, essentially. That's not a spoiler in my opinion, but it's just like, it was a lot for me to wrap my head around in terms of suspending my disbelief. But then at that point, I was like, I'm not it's not about suspending your disbelief. It's about him like engaging with his character and all that. And I thought the thoughts behind Vox Lux were really interesting. And I really like the third act. And it's been on my mind a lot since then. And it's so interesting you put it up against the King's Speech, because the King's Speech is respectful. I'm not mad at the King's Speech. I never have been. I think it's solid. It's enlightening. It's well acted. And honestly, if you were gonna like, if it was a matter of like, what do I rate higher? You know, like in a sense, maybe with a gun to my head, I'd say the King's Speech. But under the circumstances, I'm gonna vote for Vox Lux only because it was interesting, it was provocative, and the King's Speech is not going anywhere. It won Best Picture. It's fine. Very few people have seen Vox Lux. If we can get a few more eyes on it, even if they hate it, I don't think that's a bad thing because it's an interesting movie. I think it's interesting.
Wow. Didn't see that coming. Marisol,
The
yeah.
King's Speech is cool, man. Who's mad at that movie? But it's so straightforward to the point where, like, what are we saying about the king and his speech? Like,
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I'm just gonna, yeah, here we go. I guess cool. I mean, I guess this is decided, but I'm gonna apply some of my own logic here. Yeah, so Vox Lux is this messy opera. It really is, where it's just like I find it very frustrating. I have very mixed feelings about Vox Lux, and I find it very frustrating. But I also like couldn't look away the entire time I was like watching it. I was so fascinated and intrigued, and like, where is the hell is this going? Like the entire
what is happening?
Time, I was like, oh, like it's just so like almost breathlessly. It's almost, it feels like you're watching a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Like honestly, when you're watching Vox Lux, which is kind of cool for Brady Corbett to do that on his debut feature film. He obviously wanted this to feel very important. It also has the air of that, where I think like he's just like, he had all the ideas for all his style and was just like, I'm gonna do it, even if just like left kind of scratching your head just a little bit by the end of it. But damn it, if it wasn't like just fucking interesting, because you just have no idea where it's going. And so that did keep me watching it. And I can't think of two people who look like less like they're from the heart of Brooklyn than Natalie Portman and Jude Law, but that's beside the point.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Jude.
They're both so good.
No, I know.
I honestly love their weird accents.
I know.
Yeah.
It's endearing. That's
It was
why
charming.
I couldn't look away. I was like, what?
Especially with Jude.
What am I watching? But yeah, the structure of it is so like focused and intense. Like you just can't look away from this movie. But Mama is spite voting like a mother this week, and I cannot vote for a movie that beat The Social Network, all right, for Best Picture. So fuck you, King's Speech. And I was gonna vote for Vox Lux anyway, even though I think it's a messy movie.
She hates
that's all
Colin
over
Firth's
the place.
little jacket in that movie.
Oh,
She's complained about it
that
so many
little
times.
jacket. What? Like, I cannot vote for this little vanilla ass movie.
Okay.
All right. I can't. I cannot. I cannot. The weird semi-successful experiment that Vox Lux is, and I totally agree. More people should watch it than fucking Wonder Bread ass King's Speech.
Okay.
All right, I can't.
As the guy who is obsessed with The Social Network, I kind of agree with you on that, but I also I'm going to give King's Speech its one pity vote because I do love it. Like I love King's Speech as a film. Like I really do. Even though I 100% agree with you, Social Network deserved Best Picture, it deserved Best Director, it deserved a lot more than it actually got. But
King's Speech's fault.
Yeah. But I do think King's Speech is just an absolutely. I think it's a wonderful film and just a really great movie, and I would give it its vote. But Vox Lux moves forward.
Jacob, tell us why you believe in colonialism, though. Why is that
You're the one prime to speak on that here.
You obviously hate humanity by voting for the King's Speech. That's
All right, we have 6 final matchups remaining. Let's get through these.
Let's do this.
Kubo and the Two Strings versus Mud. I'm going to start off with this
Kick
one.
it off.
Mud is a good movie. Mud gave us the beginning of the Matthew McConaughey, the McConaissance.
Yeah.
It ain't Kubo and the Two Strings. Like Kubo and the Two Strings is just one of the most beautifully, stunningly animated films from the last decade. I think it is so gorgeous. I think the stop motion animation is absolutely beautiful, and I also just think the story that it's telling is really heartfelt and really beautiful, and so I am going to go with Kubo and the Two Strings. I love this movie so freaking much, and also McConaughey's in it as well, so yeah, I'm not voting against McConaughey in this one either. Mara, I'll go with you.
Okay, I'm actually really, really happy because I don't know why. I'm always just desperately worried that a movie that I really like is, I don't know, that no one else is gonna like it. I love Kubo and the Two Strings. I love it so much. I think Mud's fine. It's fine. Like, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It didn't grab me. I think it's fine. I think Kubo's beautiful. I think it's really underrated. I don't think anybody really talked about it, and no one still talks about it. I think that it's got really sweet messaging in it. It's really earnest, and I revisited it, not as much as I should. I've only seen it 3 times because I watched it once right when it came back out for like home release, and once a couple years later. I don't remember why. I can't remember why, but it actually is almost moving for me, which for my cold dead heart is pretty telling that it's a good movie. I think also because it's animals, like that helps because I like the animals, even though the animals are basically people. Spoiler alert, sorry. But like, yeah, I just really think that it stands out. It's also, again, just distinctive in the film canon of like a movie that has like Mud, a movie that has a really good actor who's finally like coming back and saying like, I give a shit and I want to try. And also my hair plugs are really sticking and really looking really nice. So just like check them out. Like that is great for you. And I'm super happy. But like Kubo is a greater degree of difficulty and execution. It has better messaging. And I just think that it deserves to move on more. It's more worthy in my opinion. So I'm just going to vote for Kubo. We'll see if we can we get one more, Jacob?
Adam.
Thank you for turning to me next, sir. I appreciate that. I look, Mara, I can't argue with any of your reasoning here. I think for me, my handicap here is when I saw Mud. You know, when I saw it, it was back in 2014 during the initial phase of the McConaissance. When True Detective came out, right? And look, I'm gonna own up to it. I saw True Detective and I was like, I need more of this dude. I rewatched Contact, but I couldn't quite get that high, you know. And so I sought out Mud. And what I love about Mud is it's like pre-Ozark, it really nails like this way of mythologizing the modern Midwest and South in a way that's not glorifying it. Because what I like about Mud is it's larger than life while also calling out some of the less flattering aspects of that region. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about Peanut Butter Falcon earlier, I spoke a little bit of you know, like the Mark Twain vibes that I got from that movie. I got that from Mud a lot, and I know that's not an asset for you know, like everyone who's tuning into the film. I don't find Twain in and of himself to be a valuable point of source material, but I think the way films like Mud and Peanut Butter Falcon modernize and contextualize some of the themes of familial and friendly relationships are really impactful. And I think McConaughey's performance in Mud is great. I like the way we start discovering the history of this character, and through the eyes of these boys who really look up to him, we realize he's not all he's cracked up to be. He's a mess. And with Kubo, like with all Leica movies, the animation is stunning. I think they set the bar for modern stop motion in a way that's hard to mimic. I think also what's great about Leica is the fact that they even exist and that they're in the mainstream is what gives films a license to still do stop motion as a medium of expression in the first place. So I love Leica for all those reasons. I think Kubo is a fascinating movie. I think the animation is awesome, obviously. For me, I struggle a little bit with the way some of the metaphors, are eating their own tails. The way the characters collapse in on each other. It's not, anything I would say is bad, but for me, I struggled to reconcile some of those beats in the final stretch of the movie. Whereas when I watch something like Mud, it's so straightforward and it's not glorifying any of the things it's depicting as far as I'm concerned. I love the way it's filmed. I love the way it's acted. I'm going to vote for Mud, but I want to concede some ground on Kubo and the Two Strings because I think it's upper tier for Leica. My personal favorite of theirs is Paranorman because of the story, but I think Kubo might be the height of their animation. And I don't want to sell it short. But Mud, I just love it. I love Matthew McConaughey. I really like Reese Witherspoon's performance in it. I think Ty Sheridan is so good in it as just a little kid. So I vote for Mud for those reasons.
Marisol? Oof, man, this is tough. This one's another really tough one. Two very different movies that I both think should go on. I'll just say it. I would vote for both of these movies, honestly. I think they both should go through. So you know what that means. So I'm gonna be an emotional wreck by the end of this monologue. But yeah, I totally agree, Adam. Kubo is peak like on a technical level. Like fuck, I was watching it and I was like, how? Like, how do you stop motion animate this? How? In a lot of ways, I think almost more impressive than Pinocchio. No, I'm not going to say Pinocchio. No need to say that. Never mind. Delete.
Leave Pinocchio
I didn't even bring Pinocchio up. Pinocchio's
the Disney version.
Fucking impressive too. Yeah, like I didn't even bring it up. All stop motion, right, for the win. But yeah, it's just so absolutely the visuals. I do think outweigh the story a little bit. I think Kubo plays it very broad. It goes a lot more broad, so it's hard to get kind of a read emotional footing on it, but I think it still finishes really strong. It plays it a little broad in the climax, emotionally plot-wise, but it ends really strongly and really heartfelt, really heartfelt sense that still brings it together and makes it feel emotionally complete at the end. Yeah, and the voice work is wonderful. I thought Charlize Theron was a little bit comatose throughout the movie, but her voice is also just really soothing, so it works. But Matthew McConaughey is delightful. His work in Kubo, and just visually, it is just one of the most unique and just breathtaking animated films of the decade, I think, easily, and it deserves to go on just in that merit. Mud, all the things you said. It's like a don't meet your heroes kind of movie, and that shit is right up my alley. That stuff fascinates me. I love that disillusionment. I think those are very important. Mud would make a great feature, maybe even with the Florida Project in some ways, a double feature. And you've already talked about the Twain of it all. I thought I knew what I was going to vote for when I started this, and now I really don't know. I really wish both of these movies were going on because I think they're both very special for very different reasons. I don't want to regret it and realize I should. I'm gonna make Taylor. I'm gonna make you choose. I'm gonna pick Mud.
All right.
Sorry.
We find ourselves again in a situation where the tiebreaker has not seen the movies. So,
Like, great.
so
Whoops.
yeah. Great. I was really hoping this would not be the situation for this specifically.
Right way to
Cool.
choose,
Here's the thing. This is literally the only way that I'm gonna be able to do this. I'm gonna pick Mud because I'm excited for the bike riders. That's all I got for you. That's all I got for you.
That logic makes as much sense as anything any of us have said.
There you go. You're welcome.
All right.
I also feel like the show Ozark borrowed a lot from. I'm just saying.
It's
Well,
okay.
that
We got
hurt
Paranorman through, right?
You know, I was gonna
Paranorman
say I'm
got
sorry
through.
that it hurt you, but I'm not actually sorry at this point.
All
We got
right.
Paranorman through. It's okay. We got some Leica through.
Yeah. Next up, Winter's Bone versus the Adjustment Bureau. Taylor, all right. Since you didn't
Okay.
have anything to say
All
about
right,
the last
all
one,
right,
I'll
all
let you
right.
start.
Yeah, I actually have seen these movies, so let's do this. Okay. The Adjustment Bureau I hadn't seen since it came out until we rewatched it recently. And Matt Damon and Emily Blunt, like, I love both of them, but this, like, what? I love this movie, but it is just like, what the fuck is even happening? Like, I'm watching it going, this is so stupid, and yet I'm just gonna keep watching. Like, it's like the concept is like so wacky, and it's just like you can tell that it's, you know, Emily Blunt, like before she's Emily Blunt, but she's still so fucking cool. Like, I have fun with the Adjustment Bureau for sure. Winter's Bone, dude, that movie is rough. That is a rough watch. It is not one that I watch for fun by any means, but I think that Jennifer Lawrence is incredible in it. I think the tension that's held throughout the entire movie is great. I just think it's a really well-made film. Again, it's the opposite end of the spectrum where I find Adjustment Bureau fun and rewatchable, and this one I'm like, I think like twice in a lifetime might have been enough for me. But I am gonna vote for it. I am gonna vote for Winter's Bone.
Okay. Adam, you put
I
your
want to
hand
set
up.
a record. I vote for Winter's Bone. I haven't seen adjusted bureaus, but I will say, I think Matt Damon and Emily Blunt are both terrific actors, and maybe someday I'll catch up to it. But I've seen Winter's Bone, and I think it's a very strong drama. Jennifer Lawrence and my boy Jayhawks. I love that man. I love him. No one talks about his like 30 seconds in Congo enough. Go look it up on YouTube. Screen for the centuries. But
Mara?
Winter's Bone is great. I vote for it. And Jacob's like, I'm ignoring you.
Yeah, so I don't know what is going on in the Adjustment Bureau. I was really excited to see it. I was like, oh man, this has got like everything I like in it. It's got ballet. It's got intrigue, political intrigue. It's got, you know, like sexy old men telling people they can't be together. I'm so here for it. And then it just like doesn't come together. I'm like, what happened here? Like you had all the ingredients to have like a Michelin star rated restaurant chef make me a meal, and it turned out to be something that I wouldn't want to eat, even like it's McDonald's level. I'm like, what is this? So like just as a fully formed narrative, I'm like, what did you do? Like what happened here? I just don't know what happened there. But man, Winter's Bone is a gut punch of a movie, and I love getting punched in the gut. Like anyone who knows me knows I love pain. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about this movie again. So Winter's Bone gets my vote.
Marisol? Oh, we're muted. Okay, I'll go. Sorry, I didn't realize you were muted. Look, Winter's Bone's going forward. I really like the Adjustment Bureau. I don't think it. I think it's a I understand what it's going for, and I definitely think it fails. Like, it's a really ham-fisted way of doing free will and religion and spirituality. Like, it's like, this is a little interesting how you're deciding to approach this subject. But I, for the most part, kind of really like it. And part of me is like, I should give it the pity vote. But holy crap, Jennifer Lawrence in Winter's Bone, what a way to just go, oh, hey, yeah, I'm going to be the A-lister for the next decade. Just like, holy shit, that performance is so good. She is so good in this movie and just completely owns it. You would not expect that this was one of her first movies. You'd think she was a veteran of Hollywood by the time in this film. She is so freaking good. So I really, really like The Adjustment Bureau. But Jennifer Lawrence alone performance, this is one of the best performances of the decade from her. And I'm going Winter's Bone. Marisol?
Yeah, no time wasted on this. This is definitely Winter's Bone. I'm so happy to see it. Everybody clearly agrees. The Adjustment Bureau is like if Sean Levy, like the Night at the Museum guy, tried to direct like The Box, like that Richard Kelly movie. Like it's like a pure basic bitches like concept of all these really like out there cosmic, cosmic existential philosophical themes.
Throwing a little bit of the circle.
Yeah, sure. I haven't seen that one yet. But yeah, no, absolutely. Amen to everybody. J-Law for the win. Let's talk more about Winter's Bone next time. Because holy hell.
All right.
The Adjustment Bone.
All right. This one, oh God, I hope. Cabin in the Woods versus The Disaster Artist. I'm going to start with this.
You start.
Cabin in the Woods is one of the best horror movies from the decade. I know everyone loves The Room. I get it. Everyone loves The Room. Everyone has these big fond things of The Room, of how fun they are. It's such like the most inner Hollywood movie.
It's like the cult classic. Yeah.
I don't care. It's never worked for me. It's never been I just don't care about this movie at all.
We did actually see Tommy Wiseau though. Do you remember we ran into him?
Yeah, when we did.
No way.
Yeah, Comic-Con. We walked past him at Comic-Con.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
He
He's
is.
so funny.
And like,
oh,
look,
hi, Jacob.
yeah, like I get it. I don't care about it at all. So The Disaster Artist, it's fine. I think it's funny. At points, I get the joke, but it just keeps hammering the joke within every 30 seconds, and I don't care. This movie wasn't made for me at all. It was made for people who love The Room and who really love being able to have that experience, and they wanted that movie, and I'm fine with that. But Cabin in the Woods is one of the best horror movies and best theater going experiences I have ever had. So I'm giving Cabin in the Woods my vote. I'm
going to piggyback off you just so that we can like get our whole thing out of the way, because I also can't stand The Room. And I'm a lover of like the so bad they're amazing. Like Troll 2 is like top of the line. Like come on. But yeah, I can't do The Room. Like I could not. I may watched it one time. Was like, I can't do this to myself ever again, or I'll die of secondhand embarrassment and cringe. Like I will have to like build my own grave and bury myself if I ever have to watch it again. So I did not see The Disaster Artist because again, I can't handle that. Like I know I can only handle so much secondhand embarrassment. Like I can't. Like I will physically die. So I did not watch The Disaster. I'm not watching Disaster Artist. Don't care about The Disaster Artist. Not watching The Room ever again. Like I don't care. Cabin in the Woods again was one of those movies that actually got me into like subgenre horror, where it's not horror, but kind of made me go, maybe I could get into horror by doing it kind of this way. I love it. It's one of my favorites. I love going back to it. I just think it's so fun. It's so wacky and ridiculous, and like the cast is having a great time. So yeah, definitely Cabin in the Woods.
Marisol.
Interesting. Watch out. It might be another spite vote incoming here. But got Barb's out tonight, but it's cool. Disaster Artist is I feel like this mixed bag about it because I totally understand the sentiment of what you guys are saying. And one of the things that I actually holds me back with that movie is because like the self, like, you know, the elevating this to like the self-importance of it kind of goes a little bit overboard for me. I know I think it's still like, I think one of the strengths of the movie is that it ends, I think the bigger picture of it wins me over at the end. It's at its core is about somebody against defying all odds and following their dream and making their dream happen despite how endearingly stupid and ill-advised and misdirected it is. I think that little romanticism and big-heartedness is mostly works. I think James Franco, like they pull off that energy and that spirit in it. I know what you guys mean. I guess kind of think like it's taken it a little too far, a little too reverential, holds the room in a little too much reverence and regard. I think maybe the Disaster Artist was like a fictional movie. I think I would vibe with it a little bit more, but knowing it's all hinging on it's like, it's so obsessed with exactly recreating the room. And I think it elevates it to a little big, like, all right, this wasn't like a big moment. It's like, this was an important moment in culture. No, it was like a low point in culture and it's infamous. And the Disaster Artist blurs that line between infamy and being famous. But it's against Cabin in the Woods, which I know y'all love it, but I think is overrated. so I'm at this weird little crux. And I find it incredibly smug. I won't belabor it. I don't quite vibe with, I find a movie that is so meta, it's eating its own tail. There's a point for me where that jumps the shark. And for me, Cabin in the Woods is just a movie that jumps the shark with the meta storytelling. I find it, self-satisfied. But I could still rewatch it. It doesn't matter because I'm going to vote for the Disaster Artist over it, though I have mixed feelings on both of the films.
Mara, you look like you're ready to say something.
Okay. So I'm one of the weird people that I cherish The Room. I really do. I also really enjoy The Disaster Artist. And I think it's because even though James Franco of it all, I like the Dave Franco of it all, in that what The Disaster Artist really is yes, of course, it's a movie about making a movie, which is just like Hollywood filleting itself, which we know that they love to do. It's actually more, I think, a movie just about friendship and about what lengths will you go to for someone that you either want to support because you care about them, or that you will do anything for because you want them to care about you, and which one of those two things is it? And can you bounce back from some sort of epic humiliation at the hands of your friend, even if it gives you some sort of moderate to major amount of success? I don't know. I just like the idea that it's really just a test of friendship more than it is making a movie. Also, Tommy Wiseau once tried to sell us his underwear, so I've also had a Tommy experience.
He has that in common with Jeff Snyder. Wait, you specifically? You directly?
Dan and I.
Okay, never mind. He does. Hopefully, he doesn't have that in common with Jeff Snyder. Wow.
No, like he makes underwear and he sells underwear.
Yeah, he's got, you know.
Yeah,
he's an entrepreneur.
Man cannot be stopped.
No, he cannot. But yeah, I do really enjoy the movie. So I'm one of those people. I was lucky that I got to see it at an AFI screening at the Chinese. So there was an environment of elevation to the first screening of it. But and I've read the book too. However, I have subsequently watched it many times and I still enjoy it. It still holds up for me. Cabin in the Woods, though, cherished. I mean, here's the thing, Jacob. You have to know that almost anytime you put a horror movie in this list, Adam and I are gonna like magnetize. You have two really big horror people here. But it is doing the thing that Wes Craven's New Nightmare did. That was like the prototype for Scream. That was then the prototype for a lot of other movies that didn't do it quite so well. That was the prototype for this, which was trying to be self-aware about everything in horror that came before it, to then hopefully inspire the next thing to do what this thing does, which in a way, I think we've seen in a couple other movies since now, oh my God, don't even tell me, I could do the maths, but this is a sickening amount of years ago now. Because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. If you told me it was 4 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, Cabin in the Woods, like 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Don't tell me there's more. But like, I know. But it did it in such an affectionate way. And I can tell you that my theater experience with this, I will never forget, because the way it starts with just the two guys, mundanity to the extreme, office environment, like, you know, they're just chit-chatting about like pregnant wife and whatever, and just like office betting pool type stuff. And I'm like, I'm in the wrong fucking theater. I seriously thought I walked into the wrong theater, and I was about to get up and walk out and figure out what mistake I had made. And I was going to be so angry I missed the beginning of the movie. And then Cabin in the Woods pops on the screen, and I was like, oh my God, they got me. They got me so good. Like, it's just such a great movie. And I really like the casting. I think Kristen Connolly is such a great, like, little, I'm the ingenue, not ingenue, like virgin, not virgin. And, oh gosh, why can't I think of his name? He directed, he wrote and directed the bottle movie in the church about the two families. Yeah. Thank you, Frank Kranz. Yeah. Oh my God. I just love I love everything about his character in the physical design of the fully functional and physically correct thermos bong thing, to how many layers of clothing they had to put on him to hide the fact that he's a super freaking jacked motherfucker. And they couldn't let him be big and jacked, because if not, it wouldn't be believable that he could get the shit beat out of him, you know, by like all the monsters and stuff. But I don't know, just this was the first big experience I also had post the West Wing. Sorry, seriously, my COVID brain is really bad with names right now. I'm so glad the Schmodown's over.
Bradley Whitford.
Thank you. I'm just so glad you guys are here. Like, so it was good to see him back. I was like, oh my God, I thought you might have died. Like, it was just joyful. The movie is joy. I've seen it at least a dozen times. I'll keep watching it.
Oh man, you're right.
Yeah, I told you.
Holy shit!
Big. He's a big boy. Like, you wouldn't want to fight him in an alley, and he's not even that tall, because he was at the HCA's for, golly, what is his movie called? It's killing me. It's like
Mass.
something.
Mass.
Or Mass. That's it. Thank you.
I'm no joke. I love that movie. I think it's
so
excellent.
good.
People need to see Mass. I saw it on a plane, and it's the best plane movie I've ever seen. Hands down.
Oh, it wasn't United 93?
Well, fair enough.
Which the fact that they show that on planes freaks me out so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
They're just like, here's what you do. All right, all right. Okay.
It's an instructional. It's a safety video. Not even.
They autoplay it right after the life vest demonstrations.
Oh, people that aren't American don't have any idea what we're talking about. Anyways, no, but sorry, I could keep talking about Cabin in the Woods because I really love it. I love it so much. I assume we'll get to keep talking about it, maybe, but yeah, it's really good. Even though I do really like the Disaster Artist, I think it's really fun. I also know the I did not hit her, I did not. Oh, hi, Mark monologue. So yeah.
Adam.
I'm fond of The Room. I own the digital video disc of that movie. I don't own the Disaster Artist, but I like it. I enjoy it. It's hard not to enjoy. It's a fun send up of the real story, but for me.
Oh no, keep on. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry, madam.
No.
But with the Cabin in the Woods, it's a well-worn premise, this self-referential fourth wall breaking horror idea. But by the time you get to Cabin in the Woods, the thing I like about it, like Mara said, is the provincial nature of it, like the fact that the selling point for this movie, for me, is Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford, for me, because I love them. I love them both individually in anything they do. Bradley Whitford is the best part of Scent of a Woman. Look it up.
Okay.
He is. He's great in that movie. He's an asshole, but he's a great asshole. So I love all that stuff. I love the way it sets up this world very efficiently, so that if you ever wanted to do anything like in that ilk, it would work well, but you don't have to. And it's playful. It's very, very playful. And with Disaster Artist, I just if anything, like Taylor said about Troll 2, that's my movie for sure. Troll 2 is a movie I effortlessly revisit. The Room I like. Troll 2 I love. And give me the best worst movie is a great documentary. For anyone who hasn't seen it, about the making of Troll 2, really, really good stuff. But I would love to see a dramatization, just simply entitled Nilbog or something similar, about everything that happened in Utah when they made that movie. It's an unnecessary tangent. Cabin in the Woods. I got kicked in the shin. So Cabin in the Woods.
All right.
I appreciate that I'm not the only one with Troll 2 love. That's all I'm gonna
I
say.
adore Troll 2, Taylor.
All
I
right.
love it so much.
So next up we have the other. Hey, let's break Jacob's heart.
I have no
Hacksaw
sympathy.
Ridge versus The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
I'll start.
Okay,
I'll do
let
it.
you start. I'll let you start.
So I know that Perks is like supposed to be like the teenage like movie of people my age. No, absolutely not. No, thank you. Bye. Go away, please. I am not a war movie person, but Hacksaw Ridge wrecks me. I'm not a war movie person. I'm not a religion person. Like this has all of the ick where I should not like this movie at all. But I love Andrew Garfield in it, and I love Teresa Palmer in it very much. I think the cinematography is great. I love the sound design of the film. I think that it's a movie that really, really works in the message that it's trying to put out. I think it's not necessarily a perfect movie by any means, but if you're gonna make me pay, do you want to watch Hacksaw Ridge? Do you want to watch Andrew Garfield? Or do you want to watch the Ezra Miller movie that you didn't even like before he was problematic? Before they were problematic. I want to make sure I get that right and be respectful when it comes to that. No, I'm not picking Perks of Being Wall. That's not, it's like even before all the nonsense with all the stuff, like Perks just not. I don't get it. Maybe I'm like broken where like the whole generation of like everyone gets it and I don't get it. So Hacksaw Ridge.
Mara, I'll let you go.
So this is tough for me. It really is, because generally speaking, it's Andrew Garfield. It's a war movie. That should be like bread and butter to me. But I don't know how to say this. I felt like, given my personal experience, that it chose to be, rather than be shocking in a Saving Private Ryan way, like to be shockingly realistic about the brutality of war, I felt like it chose to be shockingly gratuitous in the brutality of war, and it did not work for me. And again, that could just be given my personal experience with war, and I can understand why people that haven't served would take it very differently, and that is totally okay. But I was very, very turned off by how they portrayed the conflict. Andrew Garfield is phenomenal. He's basically done no wrong. I swear if I found out he's a serial killer and he eats people, I would be like, would you like to taste my foot? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I really don't think he can do any wrong. It really, 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 really sucks that there is a very problematic actor in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I don't want to hold that against the movie as a whole because the other major players in the film are so good. And I was very late to the party on it. And I think because I am significantly removed in an age group from the experience they are trying to portray, I find a disconnect between it. So I find it interesting because I grew up very differently from that. You know, I didn't grow up with like a smartphone in my hand as an example. So, you know, finding that wasn't my experience was okay because it wasn't my experience. And like, I mean, even interpersonally, of course, because that's going to be different no matter what. But I just mean, I was always going to feel disconnected from a lot of movies that are just set in a time where things are different because everyone communicates differently, like with pseudo-generational gaps and things like that. This is actually a very tough choice for me only because there's a lot to dissect between the two of them as far as not feeling deep connection with either one. But the one that I would much rather watch and the one that doesn't make me feel like viscerally uncomfortable and not in a way that is effective is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. So that's the one that I'm going to vote for. And Emma Watson's like peak.
Marisol.
Yeah. This one's really, really easy for me. Yeah. Perks of Being a Wallflower kind of ran so that the rest of the YA, adaptations of the 2010s could run. I feel like it's a solid movie. I feel like it's a prototype maybe for like Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. It just takes that kind of stuff, all that kind of melancholy, and the loner at the center, the loner protagonist, and the quirky friends and everything. I think it takes it to, it's like Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl is like an extension of it, but Perks of Being a Wallflower is a great start, right down to like the hip, fun, like wise teacher, the Paul Rudd prototype, which is John Bernthal, and Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Paul Rudd,
Woody
John
Harrelson,
Bernthal,
and
Thomas
Edge of 17.
Hayden Church.
Thomas
They all need to go hang out.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of.
They all need to go party.
Yeah.
These damn kids.
But yeah, I think that Perks of Being a Wallflower is kind of the granddaddy of that kicked off those. And I think it's definitely one of the better ones. And I think that I'm always here for the movies that are kind of the voices of loners. And the performances are all really endearing of all the young cast members, Logan Lerman and Emma Watson and Ezra Miller. I think it all gels and it works. I don't revisit that movie a lot, but I think it is endearing enough. And I like sad teenager movies. I guess I'll say that aren't treacly or schmaltzy. Hacksaw Ridge. I share that sentiment with you, Mara. I do strongly dislike Hacksaw Ridge. I think that the violence is very cartoony and kind of antithetical, and like it just goes against kind of the vision of its protagonists. Like in a movie about trying to honor this pacifist, Gibson seems to really revel in going over the top with the really cartoony violence, and it is gratuitous and it's cartoony. A lot of the war in Hacksaw Ridge is very cartoony, and I think a lot of some of the drama in the bunkers and everything and the barracks is cornball. But Andrew Garfield is wonderful in it. Andrew Garfield remains innocent because he is wonderful in it. I just think it's a very, very misguided movie, and a movie pretending to be about finding humanity when its depiction of like the Japanese soldiers that are complete cartoon, inhumane villains. Like I don't think it's a movie that even really fully honors telling its protagonist's story. I think it's really, really misguided, and it has nothing to do with how I feel about Mel Gibson or not. I think it's just a very misguided war film and pales in the comparison of the ones that kind of face it forward. And like you were saying, Mara, just even those simple comparisons to like Saving Private Ryan. I think there's a lot of other ways you can honor a pacifist than Hacksaw Ridge. I'll just say it that simply. Who knows if we'll talk about it again? But I'm definitely voting for Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Adam?
You know, I did my best. I did my best this week, but you know, I still have not been able to get. I got the Paramount Plus on the Prime. It's an addition to the Prime subscription, but you get it without the commercials if you add it to Prime. I figured that out because I had Paramount Plus by itself. Paramount Plus by itself is trash, by the way. It's terrible. And then you get it through Prime or some other, you know, like beefier subscription. And, you know, it mitigates some of that issue. The reason I bring this up is Perks is on Paramount right now. And regardless of the outcome of this bracket, although I think I have some determination here, I will watch this movie for the first time. It's eluded me for so long. And I don't believe that any three of these kids are wallflowers. They're all good-looking kids. They're all sociable. Like, I know they all pretend to be socially awkward, and that's fine. That's cool. But they all had friends.
Hey, good-looking kids got inner demons too, man.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying Jacob Dylan's the original, like, liar about being a wallflower. The singer of the Wallflowers. Yeah, one had that guy. By the way, is any of their music in that movie?
I don't think so.
It's not, is it? That'd be too on the nose.
Probably.
Okay, we need to move on. I'm going to vote for Perks because I need to still watch it. And Hacksaw did not inspire me. Although I agree, Andrew Garfield is innocent and lovely and talented and good for him.
Yeah.
And I'm not against bloody Mel Gibson movies. I think Apocalypto is pretty fascinating. And weird, and we'll talk about that in the 2000s bracket, maybe. But Hacksaw Ridge is not my speed, and I want to see Perks still, so I'm going to vote for Perks.
Look, I'll talk about it in the next round, but Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of my all-time favorite movies. It hits me in a way that is that just because I was the right age when I saw it, it resonated with me a lot. There are problematic as fuck things in that movie, though. Emma, like, you know, when you really think about it, it's a junior trying to date a freshman trying to date a senior. And there's things like that are just like, like there's a lot of things in that movie that are like, oh, that's not aged particularly well. But
you didn't go to my high school then.
To be fair,
I dated a senior.
An American high school at all. So
yeah. Sorry, Jacob. Yeah,
but like, yeah, there's a lot in it that I think elevates it beyond just the typical high school stuff, and I think that it actually tries to deal with a little more, a bit more than it. So I am going to go with Perks of Being a Wallflower because it is one of my all-time favorite movies.
And we should rename the randomizer The Perks of Being Jacob.
Okay, two left. Let's Mara, I'm going to let you start with this one because you finally watched this movie, I think. Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance versus The Spectacular Now. This is why I laughed when you said I have to watch Birdman. I'm like, do you?
It turns out I didn't. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, Birdman was fine. Okay. The Spectacular Now, though. Oh my God. I was so late to this movie. I only saw it last year. And holy shit, was I super surprised. Like, I walked into this thinking like, okay, I'm hit or miss on Miles Teller. Like, this could be whatever. And I expected his character to be a total dick, right? Because, I mean, we're conditioned at this point. And I expected every single, like, teen movie cliche, every single point of divergence at which there could be a teen movie cliche. The movie fails to do so. It knowingly chooses to do something else and to be different. And I love their relationship. I love how earnest and realistic it feels. Shailene Woodley is so cute. And I don't know. I felt like it was one of the most cinematic, because it does feel big in terms of like its significance, but earnest and true in terms of like the ability for it to seem like it really happened. depiction of a young adult relationship that I've ever seen on screen. I was so taken aback every single time something happened. I'm like, okay, well, now this is where their epic misunderstanding about the whole thing with the dad comes in. And it's like, nope. They just talk about it in the car and they totally resolve it. And they have an adult conversation like young adults should be capable of doing. They should speak to one another about stuff. And then they just, they either agree or they disagree, or they decide to be with each other or decide not to be with each other, or this or that. And I like the idea about like how you can impress good things about yourself onto someone who's not in a good place. And even at the same time, you can impress bad things about yourself about someone who's also maybe like not in the best place, but maybe a better place than you, and still have a constructive and destructive relationship at the exact same time. Like, relationships are complicated. They are not purely one thing or another thing. A relationship is not purely good or purely bad for you. And that you can decide whether or not you want to be in it. And that also, as much as we as an outside person can say, you should or should not be with this person, ultimately it's a person's choice. And we can try to advocate for what is healthy, but that doesn't mean that's what they're going to do. And I know that I just see that someone in the chat said that they didn't like the ending. I kind of like that I felt like it was still sort of unresolved. Like, just because someone's there doesn't mean that they end up with that person. You know what I mean? I don't know. I liked it. I liked it so much more than I thought I would. I went in being like, okay, cool. It's going to be Miles Teller taking a dump all over Shailene Woodley for the entire movie. And she's just going to be like, oh my God, I love him. And I love his penis. And he's just the best. And I'm just going to love him forever. And it totally wasn't that movie. And I was so excited. I loved it. Birdman was not bad. Like, it totally wasn't bad. It was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed it. The one take thing pseudo was not better than 1917 for me personally. Not that it had to be. I just mean to put it out there, since we mentioned it came up when we talked about 1917. I like the idea that I got to see the vulture be a Birdman before he was the vulture. It was cool. Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, so I watched both of these movies for this bracket. I hadn't seen either of them before. I had like clearly a weird relationship with some of the like teen movies where like I just didn't watch a lot of them when they came out. Spectacular Now, I ended up liking a lot more than I thought I was going to. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. Like, I didn't really know what it was about. And I'm also on that like same channel where it's like Miles Teller's very hit or miss for me, and I like begrudgingly have to accept when he has good performances. I'm like, this is disgusting, but fine, I'll allow it. And this is a good performance from him. I think him and Shailene are both really good in it. I think it has a lot of emotional depth. I do think that there's a lot of merit in the story that it's telling, and how it navigates it. Birdman, I still don't really know how I feel about it. Like, it's been a couple months now, I think, since I watched it, at least a couple weeks. And I'm still just like not sure where I land on it. I think the performances are really great. I think seeing Michael Keaton and Emma Stone and Edward Norton, like, I think the chemistry is all there, and I think the performances are really compelling. And I think the intent of the film, like the story that it's wanting to tell and the premise of it, I think is interesting. I just don't know if it all quite gels together the way that I want it to. There's something about it that's just like needed to be like tweaked somewhere, and I can't quite figure out like what that is for me. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one that I do eventually want to rewatch and see if maybe it sits with me differently, like on a rewatch. But for the purposes of this, I'm gonna have to go with this Spectacular Now.
I'll make mine pretty short and sweet. I don't like Birdman. I just straight up, it doesn't work for me at all. I get over, I get the joke. I get over the joke very quickly. I kind of get really over how on the nose it all is. I think a lot about it does work like really well. I think it's a movie that I can look at it and go, oh, this is like, I can appreciate a lot of what the movie is doing. I just don't connect with it at all, and I get over it. And I just, it's one of, for me, a bottom tier Best Picture winner. So I'm going to go Spectacular Now, because Spectacular Now is a fantastic movie, and I will talk about it later. So, Marisol.
Yeah, so we will. All right. Yeah, I definitely would have voted for Birdman over Spectacular Now. What you're describing, Mara, is one of the things that, like, I felt a frustration. I felt it was just a very one-sided relationship. I felt so much for Shailene Woodley, because I don't feel I just feel the pain of that relationship, and I could never see what she was getting out of her relationship with him the whole movie. It really was painful. Like, I don't mean like oh, this is terrible, painful, just like emotionally like difficult, like for me, like very like painful for me to watch. Although I think the performances are strong and I think it's a valiant effort, I'm very frustrated with Spectacular Now. Would have voted for Birdman. The gimmick totally works for me in that movie, and I think all the performances are individually just electric. Everybody's cooking. Galifianakis, Norton, Watts, Stone, Keaton. Would have loved to have seen him won this over Redmayne that year.
That I will agree.
Yeah,
Yes,
that really blows. Yeah, that was so close. That was right there. It was another Mickey Rourke losing to Sean Penn kind of situation. It was just leading to it. But what are you gonna do? Would have voted for Birdman. Sorry, Birdman. But yeah, okay.
Adam.
Yeah, I caught up with Spectacular Now a few years after the fact. Appreciated all the strong acting that's on display throughout this movie. Love seeing Bob Odenkirk just being, a deferential boss. Like, he'll pull out of this. It'll be fine. I liked all that about it. I agree with all your sentiments about the relationship. And for me, Birdman is gonna like sink or swim based on your engagement with the premise and the characters behind it. And for me, I'm not gonna claim to be I'm like a dyed in the wool theater guy. My best days were in high school, but even based off those days, I really love the fact that this is immersing you in the run up to a performance and the idiosyncrasies of actors. I really like that, especially stage actors. This movie really obsesses over not only stage craft, but the way a story unfolds physically on a stage. And that's my hook with it. And I also adore Michael Keaton. So I vote for Birdman, even though Spectacular Now we'll talk about more. I'm not gonna get too into it right now. We'll see what it goes up against next. Yeah.
We love you, Birdman. Bye.
Birdman's cool, and we love Keaton. We all love Keaton, though, don't we?
Home.
That's what we all have in common. Yeah.
All right. Well, we started this bracket with a Jordan Peele movie, and we end it on a Jordan Peele movie.
Oh snap!
Us.
We got Fast Five.
Fast. Look, Fast Five is the best Fast and Furious movie.
You're the best Fast and Furious movie.
Jacob, talk about Fast and Furious. Hold on.
I love Fast Five. It's it is the best, and like, it's the reason it's the only one in this bracket, because I think I like it's the one that's like, oh no, you nail the concept perfectly. It ain't us. It ain't us. I love Us. I really love Us. Yeah, shut up. I didn't when I first saw it, but like, and it has grown on me, and I love this goddamn movie. It's creepy and eerie, and just I love it so much. So we're running out of time, so I'm not going to really dive into it. I'm going to hope to God it gets through to the next round. So I am voting for Us. Mara, you look shocked.
I should not go next.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go next.
Yep.
I'll go next. Yeah, Us, I think I remember seeing Us and you were like, I don't know. And I'm like, dude, this is probably Peele's best work, and it's probably going to be his best work for a long time. And you're sitting there going, I'm like, great, awesome. This is still my favorite Jordan Peele movie. It really has stuck with me, like, for like I saw it and it has not left my brain for one single day since. It just has haunted me, and I think it will continue to do so forever. Just the concept of it, the execution, the cast, like Lupita is sensational in the film. And it really just it's it's his, trademark to like make you think about these really deeply personal human condition kind of things. And having the idea of the tethered and having to deal with that push and pull and the whole thing. Like it was so beautifully done. Freaks me the hell out. I love it. Amazing. Like it was gonna take a mammoth, insane movie going up against this to get me to continue, like to consider voting for something else. And I'm sorry, but Fast Five ain't doing that for me. I apologize, everyone, but
all right, Marisol.
Yeah, no, I thought you guys are gonna be going full throttle for them Fast Fives. I am shocked, but I'll meet you right there with it. Yeah, we rewatched Us this week. And I was so it took me way too long to rewatch this movie because, man, yeah, agreed with so much of this. It is not my favorite Peel, but it's arbitrary. Come on, we all obviously appreciate this man and his work. Yeah, it was scarier for me on a rewatch. I can't think of wow, talk about movies that talk about a movie that works even better and gels so much more on a rewatch. I love that. That's such a reward. That's such a fucking exciting thing to see in movies. And Us is that tenfold. It was literally scarier for me the second time watching it. I was just, the tethered are terrifying and they felt even realer than ever. Yeah. Fast Five is fun and arguably one of the better ones. Mama ain't a big fan of this franchise though. So yeah, 5 by 5. I'll take that 5, you know what I'm trying to say. Us.
Adam.
Look, as someone who is not specifically keen on the Fast and the Furious movies, I have worked so hard on this franchise. I have re-engaged many times with all the different sequels, and and no pun intended, my mileage does vary. But I will say that with the Fast and Furious movies, Fast 5 is upper tier. It's a lot of fun. It's a great ensemble piece. It's a way it introduced The Rock into the franchise at a time when The Rock was fun, young lady. He was honestly at the time. It's all about the time, go back to when it came out. I'm just trying to be fair here, okay? Yeah, she's gesturing at me from the fridge. But Fast 5 is not something that sticks with me, and I agree with all the kind things that have been said about Us. But what I think is so impressive about that movie more than anything is that it, for me personally, just in terms of taste, for me, it is the least of Jordan Peele's work, but that's not a detriment. I think what's impressive about Us is he had a concept that wasn't fully formed, and he had to get that movie made. And Us was the movie he made under duress, essentially. And Get Out and Nope, for me, are the movies that are more fully realized, workshopped, what have you. And the thing I appreciate about Us is that you can look back on it and realize, wow, he really did get this out quick. And it is broad. But the thing I like about Us is that it does do a good job, in my opinion, of streamlining the basic concept. And if you're going to get hung up on the mechanics and the believability of what's taking place in the story, you're going to get distracted from the movie entirely. And I remember when it came out, there was so much superficial dunking, there's no way this could happen. Yeah, great. Thanks. Appreciate that. How fascinating. And that's completely beside the point for me. I love the acting. I love the basic concepts of the film, and the score is excellent. So I do vote for Us, but Fast 5, yes, Jacob, it is one of the better ones. I'll give you that. But God damn that franchise. F9 made me hate everything. I'm just saying. I know you had a good time, and that's not part of this conversation, but made me want to punch walls. So,
Mara?
Okay, I'm shocked. Shocked, I say.
uh-oh.
No, really, I am, because all I ever hear is like Fast 5, it's the best one, it's the best one, it's the best one, it's the best one. It's the best one out of movies that just out for a person that loves action movies. I don't like the Fast and Furious franchise. It just does not speak to me. It is the movies don't okay. The person that drives the franchise, pun intended, does not know what movies he is in.
No.
And that dissonance does not work for me. He thinks he is going to be in Oscar-winning films. And we're not talking about a technical award. He thinks he's going to win an acting award for these movies. And he's not, because he can't act very well.
He is
And
Samson, though.
And his family is just, they know what movie they're in, but he does not. If he knew what movie he was in, and those movies just went balls deep into the hilarity, I could get on board, because you know what movie I really like? I like Demolition Man. Demolition Man knows what movie it is. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Like, Wesley Snipes knows exactly what movie he's in. Simon
Mara,
Phoenix knows
what is your
exactly
boggle?
What is what?
What is your boggle?
I don't understand.
Oh, sorry.
The woman speak. Continue, Mara.
Okay.
It's a
Anyways.
Demolition Man reference. I apologize.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm laser focused right now. But here's the thing. Us is my favorite Jordan Peele movie because it is like deeply personal to me. Like the idea of the tethered speak to the idea of people that are multiples, and it is the closest live action like concept, like theatrical concept, to explaining to a person that is not like a twin, triplet, or other multiple live birth, like what it is like to feel connected to a person that is not you, and to be somewhere and feel a pull or a like to be tethered, like literally the word, it's the best possible word to describe it. And to, I don't know, just that jointedness, and also how you can be so similar yet so different, and the unsettledness, because also, like, let's just be honest, multiples are oftentimes like portrayed as being really creepy, and they can be, but the duality of just like the human condition, like there is so much to say. Like many of his movies are like wealth gap, like wage disparity, things like that. Like, of course, there are like the deeper social topics, like all of his films have. But just on a personal level, like when everyone else was like, oh, I didn't really like it too much, I was just sitting there like salivating, like this movie is talking directly to me. And I'm wishing that you were hearing what it was telling you so that you could understand other kinds of people better, just on a surface level, even if you don't want to talk about the rest of it. I savor the movie, and everything else that everyone championed about it. Agree 100%. Look forward to talking about it again. Sorry, Fast 5. You've run out of pavement. So bye-bye.
When the reactions you were giving me, I thought you were one of the ones who didn't like us, and you were shocked that all of us were like giving up, and you were like, "Oh my god, wow!" Like, no, that went the complete opposite direction.
I think that's our
I was
first
just
5-0
shocked.
tonight.
No, we've had a few. Winter's Bone was 5-0, and The Martian was 5-0, and Get Out was 5-0.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of close ones this week. All right, guys, let me just real quick go through our movies for next week, and then I'll give some teasers, and then we can wrap this up.
Oh, Jacob's gonna do his job this week.
Yeah. Oh no.
No, he's not.
Almost.
Oh.
All right. 127 hours or more. Argo, The Artist, Beautiful Boy, Big Hero 6, Bridge of Spies, The Edge of 17, Can You Ever Forgive Me, Francis Ha, Frank, Fruitvale Station, Fury, Girls Trip, The Greatest Showman, It Follows, Her, Hunt for the Wilder People, The Hunt, Knives Out, Life of Pi, Lion, MacGruber, Magic Mike, Moonlight, The Muppets, Room, Saint Maud, The Shape of Water, Tangled, Waves, and The Wolf of Wall Street.
Some good ones coming up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be juicy.
Let's give some teasers. So,
do the right thing, y'all. Do the right thing.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Jesus.
People are gonna hate me. All right.
I'm not gonna say anything on that one.
this is the
That one hurts me specifically.
Okay.
I meant to mention Girl with the Dragon Tattoo
now.
being
Okay.
like a different version of Knives Out threw me completely off. Like the fact that like Daniel Craig waltzed up to the estate there.
Yeah. No, I'm not fucking with that last one.
You think you're gonna be able to sleep anywhere near this house after that one?
this is that this
not
one.
pleased
Okay,
with that
this is
last
the one
one.
that terrifies
For
me
no reason.
personally. This one terrifies me personally.
Oh, I gotta watch. Well, now's as good a week as any to watch them more.
Yeah. All right.
Oof.
Marisol and Adam, where can they find you?
Champs on Film, workshopping some new ideas, but please stay tuned, right?
Yes, we're gonna have some videos. We just are so into the bracket show. We really love doing the bracket show and doing our homework for the bracket show. You can find us, if you're not finding us here, check our channel, Champs on Film. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us individually on Letterboxd, and check out Champs on Film.
Please.
Thank you.
Mara, where can they find you?
I'm really just right here, right now. We haven't recorded a new episode of The Basement yet. Tottenham's been playing. Fuck Arsenal as usual, and root for us against Chelsea. And we need to win 2 out of our next 5 in order to secure our spot remaining in the Premier League. So just let's do that. Let's see what else is going on. Not much. Just taking my pills, taking them late. Took them late today. I'm gonna go walk down the road and buy hot dog buns because I'm gonna make an abomination for dinner tonight. I'm going to make veggie dogs with vegetable curry on top of them and a whipped feta sour cream sauce on top of that. So pray for the toilet.
Yeah, you can find me on this channel where I'm actually trying to kickstart some actual content where it's not just the bracket show every year where I get new videos on here from that. So keep an eye out on the channel. I'm gonna be trying to put out some movie reviews and things of that nature. Other than that, I'm pretty much just on Letterboxd talking about movies. I'm on Twitter yelling about movies. Currently, it's Challengers and the Idea of You, so stay tuned for that. That's about all I got going on.
You guys can find me pretty much everywhere at Jacob London. So I put up a public poll last week. There's about half an hour left. So if you're watching this live, you have about half an hour left to go on my Twitter where you guys can just vote for every matchup we've done so far. And I just wanted to get a public poll and see roughly what you guys would pick out of the movies that are there. If you just go on my Twitter, it's all there. So you got about half an hour left. So before that,
it's also the reason I can't keep track of the bracket pictures that you submitted at one point.
No, it's back up now.
Sorry, you tweet changed, man, and it effed me up.
But guys, until that's next week. We will be back. Until then, thank you so much for watching. I still am somehow alive, but yeah.
Thank you, Taylor.
This
I'm gonna get you next week.
Spare him for a few more weeks.
I'll try my best.